It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
Here we go, Raider Nation. We're getting closer and closer and closer and closer to preseason game number 2, Raiders versus the Houston Texans, where I'm at right now in Houston. Of course, it's the only preseason game they have away from Allegiant Stadium, and we look forward to seeing what it looks like coming up on Thursday. It is Unnecessary Roughness, Raider Nation Radio 920. Got a big show lined up for you today. It's been funny, man, being here in Houston today, and shout out to Paul Padala for helping us get here. But it's been funny just being around the town, around the city, and not having a practice to check out, or not having the joint practice like we did on yesterday. Just not having, it's kind of like that void. It's almost like a day off in training camp. Like, wait, hold on. Wait, what's going on? What do I do now? And so woke up really early this morning here at the Airbnb that I'm at. I just kind of looked around and thought, all right, now what? What moves do I make now in preparation for tomorrow's game, which is a good thing. We're very excited about what the Raiders are going to look like, what it's going to be in game number 2, how they're going to help try to build this team up and, really mold it in the shape of what Clint Kubiak is looking for. Obviously, offensively, defensively, special teams has to, take that next step, and then they'll look to take that next step coming up next week. And then you'll get ready for week 1, September 13th, as the Miami Dolphins are at Allegiant Stadium. So excited. Everything is a process. Everything is a step. And we are one step closer to NFL regular season action. Got a big show lined up for you today, as we always do. Of course, 2 to 5 p.m. We go 3 hours long, 3 hours strong. Vinny Bonsignore from the California Post and RaiderNation Radio 920's Morning Tailgate. He'll join us at 2:30. Normally, he joins us on Thursdays, but we won't have any shows tomorrow. It's one of those weird days, and I'm glad that it happened in the preseason as opposed to the regular season. But we have Aviators baseball in the morning tomorrow, so there will be no JT the Brick Show. There will be no Unnecessary Roughness. There will be the Morning Tailgate, but because of the Aviators game, and then obviously the preseason action as well with the pregame show starting at 3 p.m., we won't have time for JT or myself. So we've got to get it in today, and look forward to obviously being back right where we are coming up on Friday. But Vinny normally joins us on Thursdays. I tell you all that to tell you. He's going to join us today at 2:30 as opposed to tomorrow, and he's here in Houston as well. He was there at the joint practice. Myself and Vinny had a nice little conversation following practice yesterday, probably about 10 to 12 minutes long. You can find that on our RaiderNation Radio 920 YouTube page. I also had a conversation that you heard yesterday here on the show with Jack Besh. That's up there as well, a little one-on-one action, and I'll just tell you right now, he's one of the guys I'm paying attention to see what he does coming up tomorrow against the Houston Texans, a defense that's stellar in preseason game number 2. But Vinny Bonsignore, he'll join us at 2:30. We'll talk all things silver and black from what he saw in the joint scrimmage, the joint practice that the Raiders and Texans have, to what he needs to see coming up tomorrow and who really needs to step up and show out. Vinny Bonsignore at 2:30. Lincoln Kennedy, Raiders broadcast, of course, longtime offensive lineman, the Professor Kennedy. Always enjoy whenever he joins the show. He'll join us at 3:30, and I really want to focus in on the trenches with him for multiple reasons. That Texans defensive line, that front is nasty, right? Those dudes, they are literally bloodthirsty pirates. I say it all the time. There's certain defenses. At one point, I was calling the Raiders defensive line bloodthirsty pirates when they had, Max Crosby, when they had Christian Wilkins, when they had Malcolm Kuntz coming off a big year, Tyree Wilson. I thought, okay, those guys could be bloodthirsty pirates. But this Houston Texans defensive line, those dudes are bloodthirsty pirates to another level. Right? There wasn't a lot of success on the ground yesterday. That was something Clint Kubiak talked about following practice, that he would have liked to seen a little bit better and more success from the running game. So, that obviously is the offensive line not getting dominated by the Texans defensive line. So we'll talk to Big Link about this big challenge that is the Texans defensive line, what he's looking for, who he's looking for in this matchup coming up. And then, we'll also just kind of talk about how JPJ is missing some time and what that could do for him long term. He was out there yesterday and observed practice, but was in street clothes, so he didn't practice. So, Caleb Rogers got all the first team reps. And, I didn't even talk about him yesterday, and I should have, so shame on me. But as much as Caleb Rogers is getting those first team reps, there's a rookie named Trey Zune who very well could say, hey, don't worry, I'm here, I'm available, I could play multiple positions. and I could run this scheme better than, anybody. I mean, he could end up causing, I don't want to say causing an issue, but he could end up becoming a guy that they look at and say, hey, man, this dude is available. This dude is, a guy who could play multiple positions. That's a very valuable jersey to be, to be represented on game days because, you only dress out certain guys. And if you have an offensive lineman that could play many different roles like Trey Zune can, that could be the difference in a couple guys dressing out in that certain position as opposed to just one. So want to get his thoughts on how JPJ missing time. Maybe he plays tomorrow, maybe he doesn't. Doesn't sound like he's going to, but we'll find out tomorrow what that could do for him, not only in the short term, but in the long term, and how that could affect Trey Zune or how Trey Zune could affect him. So Lincoln Kennedy, Raiders broadcast, longtime offensive lineman for the Silver and Black, will join us coming up at 3:30. And then at 4 o'clock, Brandy Flores, part of the Las Vegas Sports Network. She's here in H-Town as well. Of course, she's been doing a really good job with all the recaps that she has from any of the practices that the Raiders have had, and she did the same thing yesterday following the joint practice. I know she's getting ready for the game coming up tomorrow. She'll be in the building. She'll be in the press box. She'll be in the locker room post-game. So we'll talk about a lot of different elements of this team. We'll do that at 4 o'clock with Brandy Flores, Las Vegas Sports Network. So many different angles that will approach all things Silver and Black. Vinny Bonsignore at 2:30, Lincoln Kennedy at 3:30, and Brandy Flores at 4 p.m. We'll hear from you throughout the course of the show at 702-365-9200. Remember, it's the last show that we have until the game coming up tomorrow, and then obviously we'll have a show coming up on Friday, Aloha Friday, as we close out the week really strong, head into the weekend. And the good thing is I'll be back in Las Vegas. It's been nice to be here. It's been a nice spot to visit, but I cannot wait to get back on that bird and fly back to Las Vegas and be back in Studio Q, where I'm not in someone else's crib. I'll be in my own. So definitely looking forward to that. But like I said, it's been a cool little trip here to A-Town, and every once in a while it's nice to get back to the great state of Texas. So a big show lined up for you. Of course, as always, we've got winning on the way. I'll tell you about that a little bit later on in the show. We will jump into the opening drive, but before we do that, we got to hear from our guy E-Rob. It's the message, not the messenger. Yesterday was important. The weekend was important. The game tomorrow is going to be important. But today is important, and this is why.
Because every day matters. The older you get, the more you start appreciating day in and day out. Because I can't get that time back. I'm in the business of saying, not if I would have did this or if I would have did that. I'm in the business of now.
I'm in the business of now as well. So right now, let's go ahead and jump into the opening drive.
The opening drive of Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920 AM is brought to you by Paul Padala. It's not about the injury. It's about the recovery.
And off top, I want to go ahead and shout out my guy Connor. He's in for Ari today. So Ari's normally on the wheels of steel there in the Lotus Broadcasting Studio, but my guy Connor is holding it down. He held it down on JT's show and now is going to rock with us for the next 3 hours. So if you call in, you text in, whatever the case may be, Connor will be there, to assist you and get you on the air or whatever the case is. So shout out to my guy. Does a hell of a job, and we definitely do appreciate him. But since today is the last show that we'll have before the actual game coming up on Thursday, normally the day of the game, if depending on the time of the kickoff, we always talk about players to look for, who we're going to be talking about the next day or maybe the following Monday, whatever the case is. But we'll have to do that today. So I'll go ahead and throw it out there to you. Clint Kubiak, he had mentioned yesterday after practice that he's going to go back and look at the film, and that's going to determine who's going to play. And as far as I'm concerned, Raider Nation, everyone but Max and Brock needs to play. Right, I think those two dudes, you could put those guys in bubble wrap, get them ready for Miami, which is September 13th at Allegiant Stadium, and you could be good to go. Everyone else, I feel like that they should play. So I'm throwing it out there to you. Who and what do you want to see from this team tomorrow? What is it that you'll be looking for, and who is it that we'll be talking about coming up on Aloha Friday? Those are the questions that I throw out there to you at 702-365-9200. And, I mentioned JPJ and that offensive line, and we talked about it on the Raider Squad show this morning with Lincoln Kennedy and Chantel Chan. And, of course, Lincoln will join us at 3:30. I'm really digging deep into the trenches. We all know that we're going to be paying attention to what 15 is doing. We all know we'll be paying attention to Fernando Mendoza. That's easy. But last week we saw the first team offensive line on the first drive with Kirk Cousins, and then we didn't see that offensive line again. We didn't see that iteration of it. I want to see the first-team offensive line with Fernando Mendoza for a couple drives. I really do. And I don't need to see him out there with the third team. I don't need to see him out there handing the ball off to Dylan Lobby. That's not a disrespect to Dylan. I don't need to see that. I want to see him, good on good is what we say. I want to see that. I want to see how he takes what he learned last week from the game against the Cardinals, what he's learned this week so far in joint practice versus the Texans, and try to take it to the next level. Again, it's all about stacking days. It's all about getting better and better each and every day. So I think the only way Fernando Mendoza gets better is as long as he's got the first team offensive line with him. He's got the majority of the first team weapons with him. And as I said at the top, I really feel like unless your name is Brock Bowers, unless your name is Max Crosby, you probably should be out there participating coming up tomorrow. I don't think there's anything that any of the Raiders did that was so exceptional that they don't need to play in preseason game number 2. No, you don't want to get guys hurt. I get it. No, you don't want to extend guys too much. No, you don't want to go out there and show too much scheme. I get all of that. But I also get time on task. And I do believe that you need to have time on task. And especially going up against those dudes in the Houston Texans, I think that would be a really good thing for them. So, what I'd like to see multiple drives of that first team offensive line. I'd like to see Fernando Mendoza behind that first team offensive line. Yes, Kirk Cousins, yeah, he could play. I don't mind if he gets a drive in, maybe even 2 drives. But if you're going to, wait until you put Fernando Mendoza in, maybe drive 2 or drive 3, I want to see that first team offensive line with him. I'd like to see more Malik Benson going up against some really good corners. And I don't know who the Texans are going to roll out there because they did have some really good film from Tuesday. So maybe they don't have their first team out there, but they're pretty deep. Their defense is pretty deep. So I'd like to see Benson. I'd like to see Besh. I'd like to see D'Onté Thornton Jr., but I just have a feeling that without him practicing and actually putting on the pads and doing some physical, labor, I saw him out there doing the, just going through the training on the third field, on the special teams field. Saw him going through, some of the agility reps and all that. I want to see him actually practice. So I'd be shocked to see him in the game tomorrow. Be shocked to see JPJ in the game tomorrow. Again, anything is possible, but that's just kind of my gut feeling. I'd like to see all these young dudes have an opportunity to go up against those guys who I believe most of us think the Texans have a chance to be not only a really good team, but a team that makes a deep playoff push, if not even a Super Bowl run. So that is another area that I want to pay attention to, and I'd like to see more from the defense. Right, the defense is what we came away from the last game scratching our head, thinking, "All right, what happened? Wait, what's going on with the secondary? How come Gardner Minshew looks like the second coming of Joe Montana? How come they completed everything in the first half? How come they only threw 4 incompletions for the whole game?" Right? I mean, that was our conversation that we had on Friday. That was a conversation I had on the podcast. That was a conversation I have in passing when I see people. What's going on with the defense? What's going on with the run defense? We saw that on Tuesday. Run defense wasn't very good for the Raiders as the Texans had an opportunity to hit some holes early, and they hit them often. So I definitely want to see a lot from the defense and show that they're understanding what they're supposed to be doing under defensive coordinator Robbie Leonard. And I'd like to see Robbie Leonard get a little bit more comfortable. I know a lot of people are talking about him. Maybe he's in over his head. I am not in that conversation. I am not in that train of mind at all. I don't think that he's in over his head at all. He's been there, done that with a lot of different teams across the league. He's got plenty of experience when it comes to defensive football. No, he hasn't been the defensive coordinator, but he knows defenses, and he's worked with some really good defensive coordinators, and I'm sure that his vision for this defense is going to come together. It might not come together right away just because they're not going to show a whole lot in the preseason, but I still truly do believe that Robbie Leonard will be just fine as defensive coordinator. But at some point, you have to show it. I like to see the defense look a little bit more confident out there. I'm not saying that they're going to go and shut out the Texans. They're not going to go and get 2 or 3 interceptions, cause 2 or 3 fumbles, and get to the quarterback 4 or 5 times. I'm not saying that at all, right? I don't think that the Raiders defense is going to be some incredible turnaround system and team all of a sudden 1 week after what we saw last week. But I want to see the confidence in them. I want them to go out there and show that when they're in position, and they were in position last week to make some plays, they just didn't, for one reason or the other, turn their head around, put themselves in position. They just didn't get it done. So I'd love to see them at least go out there, have a little bit more confidence, run with these wide receivers, make a couple breaks on the ball, turn your head around. That was one of the issues that I saw. Didn't see the head getting turned around to go track the ball like I'd like to see. That's the kind of things that I'm looking for in this game. We know that the win and loss doesn't matter. We know the scoreboard doesn't matter. There's been times that teams, including the Raiders, have basically gone over in the preseason, then turned around and had a really good season. We've seen teams like the Raiders go and have a great preseason and turn around in the regular season and not win a game. Right? I mean, we've seen the best of both worlds. So the score doesn't matter. The wins and the loss doesn't matter. I just want to see the way they participate. I want to see the way that they, compete and see who's willing to try to step up and make a name for themselves and make the coaching staff, make the front office, make the scouts, make those guys notice this particular player. Hey, man, that's a guy that we believe can do some really good things for this team. So that's really, who and what I want to see from this team tomorrow. As far as it comes to who we'll be talking about on Aloha Friday, I've got two guys that I'm really going to focus in on. I believe that we'll be talking about Jack Bech because I do think that he has an opportunity to do what he did and build off what he did last week. And against this Houston Texans team, it's probably going to take passes like we saw to Bech last week, right? Highly contested, short, quick patterns that pick up first downs and extend drives. And if he could do that against those dudes, then I feel really confident that, okay, this guy is definitely going in the right direction. He's definitely, turning into the player that we all kind of believed that he could be when they drafted him in the second round. But there's no doubt about it in my mind. The Houston Texans are going to do everything that they can to make life miserable for the Raiders offense, the quarterbacks, the offensive line, and those wide receivers. And Jack Bech is a guy, as Kirk Cousins described him, as a power forward. He can really put that defender on his back and treat him like he's in the paint and he's trying to block them out and he's trying to get himself in position for a rebound and whatever the case is or get fed in the paint so he can back a guy down and get a bucket, right? I mean that's just kind of who Jack Bech is and the body type he has. So I'm going to go ahead and rock with, we're going to be talking about him on Aloha Friday, that we continue to see him check that box of what we saw in preseason game number 1. The other player I'd like to hear the Raiders talking about or hear us talking about when it comes to the Raiders, I like to see and hear Ashton Jeanty. Right? Ashton Jeanty only got a couple snaps last week, only played, 3 snaps? And I know I said that Max and Brock don't have to play, and you could probably make the same argument for Ashton, but I actually would like to see Ashton play a little bit. I'd like to see him get a little bit of burn, get a couple drives. I don't know how many touches that is. I'd like to see him get a couple drives. We saw that big play from Mike Washington last week. I'd like to see, a big play or two from Ashton, almost similar to what we saw last year in the preseason where I believe it was the 49ers that the Raiders were going up against. And, he got up to the second level and then just lowered his shoulder. Boom, hit the guy. Okay, cool. Put him in bubble wrap, get him to the regular season. I'd like to see a couple plays like that. Like I said, a couple drives maybe, one big run, 2 big runs, whatever, and then get them out of there. I'm not expecting the Raiders to go all things Arizona Cardinals and run them 14 times like they did with Jeremiah Love last week and led to his high ankle sprain. I don't think that the Raiders will be reckless like that when it comes to Ashton Jeanty, but I would like to see him get, a few more carries, at least one more drive, under his belt before he hangs it up for the day. So Ashton Jeanty, Jack Bech, those are the 2 guys that I believe that we could be talking about on Aloha Friday. And I'm not sure who's going to be the one to step up on the defensive side of things. I don't think Max plays. That's just my gut feeling. Could it be a guy in the secondary? Could it be a dude on the defensive line? Could it be Quay Walker, who had a nice interception in joint practice yesterday? Nakobe Dean, any of those guys? Somebody defensively, I'd love to see them step up, but I can't put my finger on who exactly I think that person could be at this stage of the game. So we'd love to hear from you at 702-365-9200. Who and what do you want to see from this team tomorrow? What is it that you're going to be looking for, and who is it that we'll be talking about coming up on Friday, on Aloha Friday here on Raider Nation Radio 920. Keith, hit us up I'd like to see Daniel Carlson kicking for the Raiders come next week. I respect that. That was a good one. You got me laughing on that one. I could definitely respect that one. There's a lot of questions when it comes to the kicking game. I was asked today, what do you think about the Tokyo Toe? I think he's going to be on the international program. I think he's going to be a guy that's not going to count against the roster. He'll be able to hover around. I think he's going to be able to learn. He's going to be, put in that type position, and then they can address that next year, similar to what we saw from Laki Tassi last year. He was on that international gateway program, and then he got to the team this year, and he was there for a couple weeks, and all of a sudden he was gone. So I think that the Tokyo Toe has the opportunity to be that guy this year, where they could just put him in that program and his roster spot not count against the team. But, Daniel Carlson, man, him still being out there. I literally got a text earlier, hey, is Daniel Carlson still unemployed? I said, yeah, he is, and it kind of blows my mind. So, really good text there, Keith. Do appreciate that. Raider in Texas, hit us up. Q, you get a chance to hook up with the general? Yes, I did. One, he came and picked me up from the Airbnb yesterday morning on the way over to the Texans stadium, to NRG Stadium, to the practice field. So he picked me up. We actually went on the TV station here in Houston together. It was pretty cool to be able to do that. That was a lot of fun. Observed practice. Myself and him talked to Gary Kubiak before practice went on. We talked to Rick Dennison. Look, this is what you do. When you're in town with someone that carries the weight like John McClain does, you just rock with them. You hang with them, and you don't ask any questions. And it's funny that, he basically has the free will to walk wherever he wants around here because he's been covering the team for so long. So wherever he walked, I walked. And, nobody looked at me sideways. Nobody questioned, like, well, who's that guy? As long as I was with John McClain, I was with John McClain. So I was kicking it. So, we did that. Then had an opportunity after practice, after all the media availability, after myself and Vinny knocked out basically a little mini podcast and did a recap of practice. Myself, Brandy, Flores, and John McClain, we all went out to Papado. Went out and had a little bit of lunch before I came back here and knocked out this fine show that we call Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. And I will link up with him tomorrow. He's in College Station today, and he's working on the documentary, the first documentary, the Separate But Equal, and he's still working on the Dan Pastorini, that documentary. And he was telling me about some of the interviews. He had gone to Nashville and talked to a bunch of different people, former players, coaches, broadcasters, all kinds of different people about Dan Pastorini, and was getting some really good stories. And he's like, man, I would love to tell some of these stories on the radio, but a lot of these stories I can't tell. So yeah, it's been great catching up with John. He's one of my favorite people. He's always embraced me as a friend and a brother, and I do appreciate that, especially from a guy who doesn't have to do that, because he's got plenty of skins on the wall, and I'm just I'm just a normal dude, right? I'm just a normal, your average radio cat, and John McClain, like I said, he carries a lot of weight, and just to be able to hang out with him for a little while and kind of him show me the lay of the land has been a lot of fun. So it's a long-winded way of answering that question, but thanks so much. I do appreciate you. Just when Will said, long live the E-Rob drop for a voluminous amount of time, for the most part. Just when Will, appreciate that. Really good stuff. Yeah, I had someone hit me the other day and was like, you can't play that anymore. E-Rob's not on the team. And I said, man, you need to listen to the message. It's not the messenger. It's about the message, right? The message is so important, right? Whenever you think about what you can do or what you're supposed to do or what you want to do, just go do it. Don't waste. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Your opportunity to do it again is not guaranteed. I appreciated every opportunity I get to sit down here and do this show, because this could be my last show for all I know, right? Not saying it's going to be, but I mean, how do I know? Right, we might sign off at 5 o'clock, and then all of a sudden the powers that be come down. It's like, yeah, you know what? We're going to do something else, and boom, that's it. So I don't ever want to sit there and regret and miss out on the time that I feel like that I should have taken advantage of, because I just assumed that I had tomorrow. And there's a lot of people, a lot of us in general, that just assume, oh, I got tomorrow. Don't worry, it's no big deal. It's just this, it's just that, and the other. And then also you look up and you wonder what happened. It's like Mike Tyson when he got punched in the mouth by Buster Douglas and got knocked out. He was looking up at from the canvas wondering, well, what do I do here? What do I do now? well, get up. I ain't never been in this position. I don't know how. And it all went downhill after that. So all that fun was over quick, fast, and in a hurry. And that's how it could be for any of us in anything that we do in life in general, radio, sports, whatever the case may be. It don't matter, right? It could all be over just like that. Donnie hit us up and said, if we are going to be a vanilla defense, and I understand the reasoning, I'd like to at least see some defensive linemen win their one-on-one battles and make some plays. It's been awfully quiet. That's what I'll be watching for. Thanks, Q, RaiderNation for life. Yeah, look, the defense is going to be vanilla. That's something that we can guarantee. But I would like to see a little bit of something, a little bit of resistance, right? I would like to see an incompletion, right? Even if it's just a bad throw. I'd like to see the defense in a position to make a play, and we didn't see that, especially in the first half of last week's game. So, yeah, win some of the one-on-ones. See a guy in the backfield. See a guy disruptive. Make a play here or there. That's what I'm looking for when it comes to the defense. Really good text. Let's get one quick call, and then we got Vinny Bonsignore coming up in just a few minutes, 702-365-9200. Let's go to Crazy Gary. Crazy Gary, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Q?
Hey, man, how you doing?
Good, man. Yeah, just wanted to share my thoughts real quick. I'm looking to see the big boys up front stop the run. Maybe Tonka win some battles, maybe 50 yards or less rushing, and then I want to see Michael Mayer.
Okay. I like that. Good stuff. Yeah, Michael Mayer, it'd be nice to see him build off what he was able to do last week. We've said it multiple times that if there's an offense that's going to really show what he can do, it's going to be this offense. We've heard about it so long, right? We've heard about the 12 personnel. We've heard about the multiple tight ends. We talked about it till we're blue in the face of how dominant it could be, but we just haven't seen it on a consistent basis. What we've seen is Big Mike become a big blocker. I like to see him busy in the passing game, just like we saw last week when Kirk Cousins hit him on that touchdown pass, a little nice catch and run by Michael Mayer. So, yes, I'd like to see that as well. And, yeah, the big boys up front on the defensive side of things, man, stop the run. Right? I mean, make the Texans go one-dimensional, and then you can have a chance to pin your ears back and try to get to the quarterback. Really good call, man. Do appreciate that. 702-365-9200. Keep that feedback coming. Let us know on the text line. Who and what do you want to see from this team tomorrow? What is it that you'll be looking for, and who is it that we'll be talking about coming up on Aloha Friday? Let us know your thoughts. Vinny Bonsignore, he joins us next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
That was the opening drive of Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920 AM. Brought to you by Paul Padala. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery. It's Unnecessary Roughness. Let's go inside the huddle with Vinny Bonsignore. Sponsored by Dos Caras Tequila and presented by the Realty One Group.
It is Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920, and we are inside the huddle as we have Vinny Bonsignore from the California Post and, of course, the morning tailgate here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Join us on the phone lines. Before we get to Vinny, I threw the question out there, who and what do you want to see from this team tomorrow going up against the Texans? What is it that you'll be looking for? And who is it we'll be talking about coming up on Aloha Friday? I did see this note from Aaron Wilson, who's been covering the NFL and the Texans like a glove for a very, very long time. He said Texans expected to rest several starters versus the Raiders, a change in plans from their original idea for Thursday night per a league source, especially on defense. Some offensive starters are still expected to play briefly, potentially C.J. Stroud. So I guess take that into consideration when you think about them. But the question I threw out there is about the Raiders. Who and what are you looking to see? What do you want to see? Who do you think should play? And who are we going to be talking about on Aloha Friday? Vinny Bonsignore joins us now here on the phone lines. And Vinny, armed with that information from Aaron Wilson about who the Texans might be trotting out there on the field tomorrow, who do you think this game for the Raiders is most, I guess, beneficial for?
Across the board, really, and honestly, and we both saw what we saw yesterday, and I think people might be not exaggerating, but maybe taking that the wrong way, like it was a devastating loss for the Raiders. It wasn't. It was a very enlightening day, a beneficial day, a learning experience. And it's sometimes okay. It's not sometimes. It's always okay to know, all right, what do we have to do to get there? What are we lacking? What do we need to work on? What do we need to focus on? And so having said all that, I think Thursday represents kind of across the board, cleaning up what you saw on Thursday. I do believe that the first-team offense should have some time out there together. I think that there's some unfinished business from Tuesday. That's not a bad thing. I think what this offensive line needs more than anything else is continued reps together, especially against a different defensive front with different looks and all that type of stuff, because that's the type of thing that they're going to obviously see in the regular season. So I don't feel like a couple of drives, maybe a first quarter, is a bad thing when you're talking about that first team offense, especially that first team offensive line. I want to see more from the wide receivers. Really didn't see much from them yesterday. Now, some of that was because the quarterbacks had to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker because of that, Houston Texans defensive line. But to me, they're still there. I still need to see more from the wide receivers in terms of the separation, in terms of being part of the action. I think Brock Bowers, I don't know if I need to see more of Brock tomorrow. He did his thing yesterday when targeted. I think the defensive line, I don't know about Max, but I think the defensive line, especially the interior of the defensive line, needs to get back out there and show that they can be improved from yesterday in terms of the run defense and in terms of the run defense last week against the Arizona Cardinals. I liked what I saw from the linebackers yesterday. I think they're good, but that young secondary needs as many reps as possible. So I think that they should be out there for an extended period of time just to keep that development going and get them ready for the regular season. So I don't know that there's an area that doesn't need some TLC tomorrow and these next couple of weeks. I think it's pretty much across the board.
Yeah, it's funny. I said that everyone should play except for Brock and Max. Like, I don't need to see those two guys, and you basically echoed my same thoughts
and
right
we did
there.
Not talk about that.
At all. So, great minds think alike, apparently. He's Vinny Bonsignore. I'm Q Myers. This RaiderNation Radio 920. With that being said, though, Vinny, I did want to ask you about the offensive line. That was one of the first areas that you brought up. I brought up the offensive line as well. We saw JPJ yesterday in street clothes. How damaging is that he is not out there, wasn't out there for the joint practice? We don't know if he's going to be out there tomorrow or not, but in the meantime, in between time, Caleb Rogers is getting all those first-team reps. And, oh, by the way, there's a rookie that plays a lot of different positions named Trey Zune that also could be looking to climb the depth chart.
Yeah, from JPJ's standpoint, it's just another unfortunate, call it bad luck, whatever, but the very problem that we've been talking about it, and it's not like he's a bad person or anything. I'm not trying to suggest that, but the thing that's held him back has been injuries, and his first year, his entire training camp was cut short, and that bled over into the regular season. And then obviously we saw what happened last year. So it's just an opportunity lost for him. It's a great opportunity, obviously, for Caleb Rogers and Trey Zune, who you're talking about. And look, yesterday the offensive line had its hands full against the Houston Texans. Shocker. News alert. We all knew that was going to be the case. You talk when, I had Aaron on the show when I was sitting in for JT a couple of days ago, and he talked about how if he was in charge, sometimes he would take that defensive line off the field against the Houston Texans first team offense. Why? Because CJ doesn't have a lot of time to throw, and if you're trying to develop your young quarterback or get your offense in, it doesn't help when you can't stop your defensive front because they're so good. They do that against everybody. That's why they're the best at what they do. So I wouldn't overly read too much into what happened yesterday, other than the fact, I think, that offensive line just needs more time together, more time to gel, more time to get chemistry and cohesiveness. I think it's going to work. I think you're going to see a lot of improvement throughout the course of the year. They just so happen to be going against the best defensive line in the NFL, and they weren't quite ready to deal with that yesterday. That doesn't mean that they won't be ready in 6 weeks or be better off for it, especially when you start game planning and start getting specific blocking schemes down to deal with this person and deal with that person. A lot of what we saw yesterday were some of the one-on-one type of things where there wasn't really much help given to either tackle. That's going to change in the regular season when it gets to a game plan situation. So I'm not freaking out over the offensive line yesterday. I kind of expected that was going to be the case yesterday. They just need time on task together.
We saw and heard from Fernando Mendoza following practice, and, we know he can make all the throws. There was a wow play that he made to Brock Bowers, and you kind of just point at it like, yep, there you go. That's him. But really, Vinny, what stood out to me is what I heard from him following practice and the way he broke down practice, the way he broke down his good, the way he broke down his bad. What is it that you've kind of learned about this guy, Fernando Mendoza, since he's been a part of the Silver and Black?
Yeah, and I said this morning on the morning Tailgate show, I didn't like how Fernando Mendoza handled the postgame. I loved how he handled the postgame. But you know what, to be honest with you, Q, I don't know that if you've been paying attention, and obviously we have to. That's our job, right? So to the extent that you've talked to people, that I've talked to people, that I went back and watched tape and listened to interviews, go back and watch his interviews at Indiana, even at Cal, to be honest with you, I don't know that I've learned anything new about him. It's just reaffirmed kind of what we've learned, what we did learn about him, right? And that's why I keep saying I'm not worried about, oh my gosh, you can't put Fernando Mendoza out there, he might break. I don't worry in the least about that with him. And you saw a glimpse of that. I think RaiderNation got a chance to see that yesterday when he had everything perfectly in perspective. I made some mistakes. Yeah, I don't like making mistakes, but I kind of like making mistakes sometimes when there's no real repercussions other than me learning from those mistakes. Here, where it doesn't count, where there's not a scoreboard, where there's not a win or loss, attached to it. This is how you're supposed to learn, and if you keep it in that perspective, you're going to be fine. And I keep reiterating this point too. This isn't a 5-star guy. This isn't a guy that everything was just laid out on a gold-plated walkway to start him. He did it the hard way, every step along the way, and it's worked for him. And he's always had this perspective and this had things in this kind of context, and that every step of the way has worked for him. So I don't see any reason why it's not going to work for him at this level. And the understanding that he showed yesterday and how he has things in context and the nuanced view that he has of life and of the game of football, I think is one of his superpowers, to be quite honest. And so for that reason, I'm not worried about anything that he might encounter, good, bad, or indifferent, as a rookie or at any point in his career.
Vinny Bonsignore is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920, Unnecessary Roughness. I did want to flip over to the defensive side of things. A lot of people are, really concerned with what they've seen through a game and what they heard about a joint practice. Where is your level of concern with a very new defense and even a very young defense led by a defensive coordinator who's never had that DC title before in Robbie Leonard?
Well, I'm going to flip that question and throw a question to you just to put this a little bit in perspective as well. And because I know you know this, how long do you think that Houston Texans defense has been together?
Oh, man, they've been together for a handful of years now, ever since DeMeco Ryans arrived here in Houston.
Now, could you not tell yesterday, hey, that's a defense that's been together for a long time. This is a defense, and I know that there's some personnel, issues that the Raiders are going to have to solve down the road or whatever that might be. But I saw a defense that was in lockstep from the Houston Texans. I still see a defense right now that's learning a new system, and that's learning each other. You're talking about a defense, and I'm bullish on the personnel side of it. I don't dislike. For the most part, there's some improvements. I think we all understand that, but I think the core of a pretty good defense is in place right now at some various positions. I just think that this defense needs to learn each other, how to play the strengths, the weaknesses, the communication. Again, like the offensive line, that cohesiveness is why I do want to see the first team defense probably sans Max Crosby out there, because I just think they need time together. And we asked Nakobe Dean about this yesterday. When you think about communication on the defensive side, you almost automatically go to the pass game. And that obviously is important, but it's really important too in the run game. You have to be able to trust that the defensive line, if you're a linebacker, that the defensive line is doing their job. As a defensive lineman, you have to trust that the linebackers know what they're doing based on what you're doing. The secondary, the slot cornerback, the safeties, everybody needs to be on the same page when it comes to run defense. Not one person gets it done in run defense. That is the epitome of a team effort. And what I'm seeing so far, is a defense right now that's not quite on the same page, but I don't know that you would expect it to be, given how much turnover there's been defensively, and just the fact that it's a new defense as well. And, oh, by the way, that secondary isn't just young. It's extraordinarily young when you think about it. So it's just going to take those guys some time, I think, to gel together and develop that necessary chemistry. And I think they have that time. Number one, there's still 3 weeks before the regular season, but then there's a full regular season. I think that's going to be the truest test of this defense, to get better on a week-to-week basis, because that's what, to me, this season should be about, is getting better. I don't even care. I mean, I'm not a fan, so I never care about it anyway. Right. But like, I'm paying way less attention to wins and losses and way more attention to weekly improvement, daily improvement by this team.
Well, we'll close out with this. The fantastic stuff. Vinny Bonsignore is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920 and Unnecessary Roughness. The secondary was something I was very intrigued by. Hezekiah Massich, Jamad McCoy, Traden Stukes, Dalton Johnson, Taron Johnson, right? All these guys that have been added to the mix, Darian Porter in year 2. I was pretty fired up and excited about them. Just wanted to see what they were going to do against a different opponent. And all the Cardinals did was go out and go 15 for 15 in the first half. Should I be concerned? Should Raider Nation be concerned about that secondary, or is that something that you also feel is just a work in progress and those young dudes are going to grow up pretty quickly?
I mean, I can't sit here and say that when somebody throws, completes 15 straight passes, that there's not a little bit of concern. Right. So, but I'm going to try to be, put it in context. A lot of those guys, that was their first time out there playing in an NFL game, and from the secondary standpoint, it was the first time a lot of guys were playing with each other as well. And I think the defense was, Clint Kubiak talked about it. They wanted to put their cornerbacks, especially those young cornerbacks, in some really stressful situations. So how do you do that? Go defend that guy right there. Go defend an NFL wide receiver for the first time in man coverage, not safe coverage and in zone coverage. We want to see what we got in terms of a man defense. And the one thing I was encouraged about was I didn't see anybody out of position. What I saw more than anything on some of the negative plays, and by the way, there were some good plays as well. We get fixated on the big plays, the touchdowns that Jamad gave up, but there were also some good reps that he had. We've seen him have some good reps in practice as well. So a little bit concerned, yes. You can't just excuse that or sweep that one under the rug. But I think more than anything, I like the talent, and I think the talent is there. And maybe for the first time in a long time, we could say that there's a lot of talent in this young secondary. Now it's just developing it, and unfortunately for everybody, you got to do that in real time. And you got to not that it has to happen right now, but it kind of has to happen right now, because I think all these guys are going to get thrown into the deep end of the pool here pretty quickly, and they're either going to sink or swim. And if they're treading water a little bit early on, I wouldn't be quick to write anybody off. It's going to take that secondary a little bit of time to really find its footing, and I think eventually maybe even be a strength of this team.
I'll tell you what, we won't have to take too much time before we get to see another iteration of this Raiders team, as they'll be back in action coming up tomorrow evening. Of course, you can hear that game here on RaiderNation Radio 920. We're in Houston, the Raiders versus Texans. Looking forward to that. Vinny, great stuff as always. What are you working on, my man, that we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I did I put a column out, should be posted here any minute now, on how the Raiders starters probably should see a little bit of time based on what happened on Tuesday, and I guess the question is how much time are the starters going to play? And then I also wrote a little bit about Kirk Cousins, and don't touch his arm, man. I don't know if people are learning that lesson, but
yes,
he's not too happy about that when that happens. So Mr. Goody Two Shoes gets angry real quick when that happens. So I put a little story out about that as well.
There you go. Great stuff as always, my man. Definitely appreciate you. Enjoy, the rest of the day, and then of course we'll be checking you out in the morning tailgate, and I'll see you in the press box coming up tomorrow, man. Definitely appreciate you.
Sounds good. Have a great show.
All right, will do. Vinny Bonsignore right there from the California Post, and, of course, the morning tailgate here, RaiderNation Radio 920. There will be no JT tomorrow. There will be no Unnecessary Roughness tomorrow, but there will be a morning tailgate, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., so it gets you right in the mode, right in what you need to know in time for the game, preseason game number 2. We'll hear from you as we close out hour number 1, 702-365-9200. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right.
Just got a couple more minutes left here in hour number 1 of the show. It's Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Calls, text, we want to hear from you at 702-365-9200. We threw the question out there. Who and what do you want to see from this team tomorrow? What is it you'll be looking for? Who is it we'll be talking about coming up on Aloha Friday? Again, 702-365-9200. Poncho P said, Q, I want to see the defense show improvement where they struggled in the first preseason game. Stop the run and play tighter coverage. We don't get to see what you guys see at practice, so show us on the game day. PBUs, INTs, sacks, and guys making plays. I just want to see progress. Really good text, Poncho P. And the thing about that is I want to see that as well. And it has nothing to do with what we get to see at practice. It has to do with going up against someone else as opposed to what we see going up against themselves at practice, right? That's what I really want to see. I want to see them have success. I want to see them be sticky in coverage. I want to see them stop the run against somebody else, not their own team, right? And when we see that at the practice facility, we always kind of take it with a grain of salt. There's been times where I've looked at that and said, oh, man, this team looks like, or this defense in particular looks like it's going to be really good, only to find out that it just was going up against an offense that wasn't very good. Not saying this offense isn't very good, just wondering, how challenging these wide receivers are for this secondary. When you start to see them looking really good, is it because the secondary is just really good against the Raiders wide receivers, or are they just really, really good? And that's something that I was paying attention to in game number 1, and it's concerning when you see a team go 15 for 15 in the first half and then, only throw 4 incompletions throughout the whole game. They didn't punt till the fourth quarter, something Lincoln Kennedy brought up on the postgame show. They didn't punt till the fourth quarter. That's something that you want to pay attention to. Again, we're not going to see the big scheme. We're not going to see a bunch of huge, big plays. We're not going to see a big, blitz package or whatever and, exotic looks from this defense. You're not going to see that in the preseason, so I get that. But you still have to be able to see, a guy make a play on a ball or two, right? And an incompletion thrown. There's just no way you can go 15 for 15 in the first half and not at least have some kind of concern. That's where I'm at when it comes to that. So that's a really good text. Keep that feedback coming at 702-365-9200. Of course, we'll hear from you as we kick off hour number 2. We'll do football right and got a lot to get to. We also have Lincoln Kennedy coming up at 3:30. But, again, want to throw it out there to you. When it comes to this game tomorrow, who and what do you want to see from this Raiders team? What is it that you're going to be looking for? And who is it that you believe we'll be talking about coming up on Aloha Friday? Let us know your thoughts. 702-365-9200. That's the text line and the phone line. You're next. Kicking off hour number 2. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
Right now, we're doing football right on Unnecessary Roughness. Brought to you by Meineke, doing car care right.
And here we go, Raider Nation, kicking off hour number 2 of the show. It is Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920, and we're definitely going to do football right. We got Lincoln Kennedy joining us coming up at 3:30. Look forward to that conversation. Talk about the trenches, talk about JPJ and what Big Link wants to see coming up in preseason game number 2 versus the Houston Texans. Matter of fact, want to hear from you. We threw the question out there, who and what do you want to see from this team tomorrow? What is it that you're going to be looking for, and who is it that we'll be talking about on Friday, Aloha Friday here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Before we do football right, let's go ahead and go out to the phone lines. Let's go out to the mean streets of Summerlin, as our guy JT the Brick likes to say. Talk to our guy Thor. Thor, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
What's happening, my brother? Out here in the mean streets of Summerlin, burning up, brother. It is hot as all hell out here again. Oh my God, it's brutal today. Anyway, mother, I just got out of I went into Costco right when your show was starting. Just got out, so I didn't really. I'm trying to catch up with the question. Anyway, what I want to see is young, hungry cats being young and hungry. I love the young, hungry mentality, right? I'm not that worried. I've been saying I'm not that worried about the preseason game, the first one, what we saw. Sure, we want things to be better, but they're young. They have to learn. Familiarity breeds contempt, right? So you're familiar with your own. You're playing your own people over and over, and you start to lose respect for whatever that you're actually in an NFL game against other NFL different players because you're so used to it. Maybe that's why you're getting beat a lot. Because I felt like a lot of the DBs were there. There was some great throws, but if you could have maybe turned a little sooner, got your head around a little quicker, got your hand up, got a little more bump at the line or something, all that little would have saved you. But you're so used to what you're doing. You're learning from this. I mean, we hear from Fernando how much he's learning all the time after mistakes. That's what preseason is for. I'm happy that happened in the preseason game, so you can learn. Young and hungry. Stay young and hungry, Raider Nation, man. Raiders, go out there. I want to see cats leaving everything on the field. I want them to just show us everything they can, I mean, I don't know how many people for Houston are going to play. I've heard things saying a lot of their starters may or may not play now. But I want whoever starts for us and plays for us to go out there and let's see, this is it. You got this game and one more and a few more practices to show if you're going to make the team or not. Young, hungry cats will make this team. And that's who we want out there. Let's go, baby. I'm fired up. I'm fired up for tomorrow. I'm fired up for Alumni Week. And the Santa Clara team is coming in here, though, pretend to be the Bay kind of team. And then the regular season is ready to go. Let's go, Q. Fired up, baby. Yay!
There he goes, Thor. Really good call, man. Appreciate you. Young and hungry, young and hungry, young and hungry. I like that. And I would like to see those young and hungry dudes get after it as well. It's very important for them to go out there and show what they can do. Obviously, it's not going to be a whole lot of scheme, but just as Thor was saying, just show that you're in position and just go finish. Make some plays, right? You could be vanilla and still make some plays. You don't have to, just give up everything for the sake of, we're just being vanilla. I think Thor brings up a really good point. We'll hear about Fernando Mendoza in a hot minute as we do Football Right. I did want to pass this along because Thor was saying he didn't know who was going to play for the Texans. Aaron Wilson, who's been covering the league for a very long time, is stationed here in Houston, covers the Texans, saw him at practice yesterday. He said on Twitter, Texans expected to rest several starters versus the Raiders, a change in plans from their original idea for Thursday night. Per a league source, especially on defense, some offensive starters are still expected to play briefly, potentially C.J. Stroud. I wonder if they changed their approach to Thursday based off what they saw on film from Tuesday. And why I say that, why I throw it out there like that is because Clint Kubiak said the guys who are going to play tomorrow for the Raiders is going to be based off what they see on the film. So the Texans might have gone back to the film and said, you know what, we're right where we need to be at this stage of the game. Do we need to continue to improve? Absolutely. But we're right where we need to be. There's not too much more that we can do in this preseason game. We need to make sure that we get to the starting block, especially when they had their wide receiver go down. Saw that happen yesterday. When I saw him go down, didn't know what the severity of the injury was going to be. Come to find out, Jaden Higgins, their wide receiver, suffered a torn ACL, so he's done for the 2026 campaign. So they very well could have seen that situation and say, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and put these guys on ice. They're good to go. Let's just get them to the starting block. Really good call, man. Definitely appreciate you. 702-365-9200. Let's talk to my brother Leo. Leo in the IE, man. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
What up, Kira? What's going on, man?
Man, I'm chilling. How you doing?
Good. How you enjoying that Houston humidity? I know you're used to it, but it's a little different.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think because I'm used to it. Like, it hit me in the face when I got to the airport. I was like, oh, that's that humidity again. And then yesterday a little bit, but everybody was going through it, man. And I'm just like, oh, nothing to see here. It's all good. So I guess I'm Texas seasoned now. I guess I'm good to go.
I can see that. But real quick, man, what I'm looking to see on Thursday is the continuity. We're a young team. We're a new team. I think you said it perfectly. We were up against a playoff team, and we're in a rebuilding team. So we're young. We got to be patient and let them go out there. And that's where they're going to learn this. There's only so much they can do in practice. They miss tackles. We can't practice tackles, on our practices nowadays. You practice at a preseason. So being able to see them go out there with more purpose, more intensity, learning how to play together on that O-line. I mean, sadly, it makes me sad to hear about JPJ, but we talked about how now we have depth on the O-line. Well, let's see if that's true. JPJ can't play, next man up. We got Zoom, we got Rodgers. Who's going to step up? Things like that. And then that secondary, they're young. Give them time. They got to figure things out, make plays on the ball. I think somebody said earlier, it was like their first game for some of them on the NFL stage. So just giving them time and being patient. Let them time to develop and become a team, because you can see the vision that Kubiak and them are making. So I'm just being hopeful and being mindful that this is the Houston Texans we're playing, y'all.
Yeah, there you go. Leo, great call, man. It's always great to hear from you. Hope to see you and catch up with you sooner rather than later, maybe next week against the 49ers back at Allegiant Stadium. If not then, maybe week 1, September 13th against the Dolphins. But really good call. Really do appreciate that. Great feedback. Keep that feedback coming, just like Leo hit us at 702-365-9200. This text real quick, and then we'll get to doing football right and hear about Fernando Mendoza. This comes from Brent, and we'll tie it all into Fernando Mendoza. He says, what I want to see is Mendoza get some good work and hopefully at least 2 quarters. I want to see Caleb Rogers take that right guard position. I think we're going to be talking about JPJ on Friday about how he missed the game again. I'm totally over JPJ, which I hate to say because I was one of his biggest supporters the last 2 years, but there's nothing more than I hate than trying to defend a guy who can't even get on the field. Sorry, JPJ Hive. Raider success is more important, and he's not helping the team when he can't stay healthy. So that's an unfortunate part of it, right? I'm probably a JPJ supporter as much as the next person. But, again, you can only push so much until you realize, like, this guy's just not on the field. And, best case scenario, he's actually out there tomorrow. Clint Kubiak didn't rule him out. He just said basically he's doubtful. So we'll see when we get to the stadium. We'll see when he gets out there on the grass if he's going to be able to go. I would love to see this dude be fully healthy. And if he's fully healthy, what he can do and what kind of identity and what kind of nasty he can bring to this Raiders offensive line. But it's great to talk about the nasty, talk about the identity, talk about how good he can be. But we don't see it because, well, he's just not out there and he's not available. So, I do want to see Mendoza get some good work in. I'd like to see him get that work in behind the first-team offensive line, whoever that is, coming up tomorrow. Maybe a guy in the second team offensive line, but I sure don't want to see him in there with the third team offensive line. That is for sure. Brent, thanks so much for the call. Do appreciate you. We'll get back to your calls and texts in a hot minute. But on ESPN, speaking of Fernando Mendoza, of course, that's going to be the big conversation piece. Louis Riddick, who we had on the show last week ahead of the Raiders and Cardinals preseason action. Really good conversation with him. If you missed it, you can go back to lvsportsnetwork.com. He was being asked on Get Up about Fernando Mendoza as it pertained to the Kansas City Chiefs and how they were able to sit Patrick Mahomes. And Steve Smith had some things to say about Fernando Mendoza and Kirk Cousins as well. I thought this was a nice little exchange right here. Louis Riddick and Steve Smith talking about Fernando Mendoza. Riddick is starting off talking about the Chiefs holding Patrick Mahomes out because they had Alex Smith.
If Kirk Cousins is playing good and the team is winning, then they have the luxury then of sitting and waiting and allowing him to kind of continue to develop. I think all this is going to be contingent upon how the team is doing and how Kirk is playing. If the team is struggling and Kirk isn't playing well, you're going to see him faster. If the team's playing good, Kirk's playing well, he's not turning the football over, they're being efficient, then they have the luxury of time. I think that's totally how this is going to go. Obviously, look, I think Clint Kubiak has said it perfectly. He's an ascending, improving player that is doing exactly what they want. He is right now meeting expectations. I think this is all about Kirk, the offense, the team overall.
Well, they're going to start losing games, but when you have a veteran like Kirk Cousins, you talking about mastering, this is the only offense Kirk Cousins has been in when he's been successful, right? He knows his bread and butter. That's not a knock. The knock is when you have a guy who doesn't know a system, who tries to reinvent himself. Kirk Cousins knows exactly, and that's the best way, because Kurt is going to push him, but Kurt is also going to put his arm around him as well. And they're very similar, very quirky and unique. And I love that. Look, we all have something to ourselves that is cool, and I love it with Kirk. Kirk is not acting like he's different. Kirk is like, this is who I am.
Steve Smith and Louis Riddick before talking about Fernando Mendoza, Kirk Cousins, the options that the Raiders have, and the fact that they do have options. And it's so funny, as much as you could pound the table and say Fernando needs to start day one, as much as you could pound the table and say Cousins needs to start the season, day one, and then pass the sticks on at some point, the fact that the Raiders have options can only be a good thing. The fact that they don't have to just go in one direction because they're backed into the corner. They can do whatever they want. That, to me, is the beauty in all of this. There's multiple different directions they can go. They'll pick a way. just like pick a path, they'll pick a path, right? We'll see it sooner rather than later. As, Kirk Morrison always brings up that Clint Kubiak says it will reveal itself. It'll definitely reveal itself. So there you go. That is how we do football right.
Doing football right on Unnecessary Roughness. Brought to you by Meineke. Doing car care right.
Lincoln Kennedy joins us coming up at 3:30. We'll deep dive into the offensive line and what he's looking for in this game coming up on Thursday versus Houston and that incredible defensive line that they do have. But want to hear from you at 702-365-9200, asking the same question. Who and what do you want to see from this team tomorrow? What is it you're going to be looking for? Who is it that we'll be talking about coming up on Aloha Friday? Let's go out to Henderson, talk to our guy Mark. Big Mark, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
What's up, Q-Dog? How you doing, buddy?
I'm blessed, man. How about you?
Oh, man, trying to stay out of this Vegas heat, man, So, yeah, I know you're in Houston, so with that humidity, But, man, great question, man. I want to see all the rookie play a lot, man. I want to see a lot of rookie play. Not only tomorrow, Q, not only in the third game preseason, I want to see them the whole season because we're starting all over. We're starting there all over. New regime. The head coach is new. He's never been a head coach before. The defensive coordinator, he's never been a defensive coordinator before. They're going to be out there the whole season. Why not play to all the rookies, too, so we can see where we're at? And especially with the offensive line, with Zoom, I hope he takes that right spot over Glaze. I hope he take that spot there to get more continuity on that offensive line because I think he's a real deal because he can play all five positions. I want to see, obviously you saw Washington last week. We know he could be the real deal. McCoy, he got baptized a couple of times. Let him be out there all day. I need to see he's a first-round first-round. They graded him for first round, but you went the fourth round, but because of injuries. So he got the talent there. I love Crawford. I saw his energy, man. He was getting blown past the quarterback, but I saw the energy and the speed. I want to see him out there a lot. Stoops too. I want to see him out there a lot, and of course Mendoza out there a lot. That's our franchise, man. That's the face of our franchise. We need to see Mendoza a lot. If he doesn't start week 1, at least by week 7, it depends on what how the Raiders are. I want to see Mendoza out there, but I just want to see the rookies play a lot. I know we need that continuity, Q, but we know this. I really think that Raider Nation needs to be patient on this. This is our mulligan season, man, because once Mendoza starts, that's when our franchise starts because he's the face of the franchise. Once he gets in there and starts and roll with him for the next 10 years, then we're going to really know because everybody's new. Coaches are new. Everybody's new. So we need. I just think we need to be patient, man. I know you talked about a little bit, maybe 6-7 wins this year. Mm-hmm. I think that's good. You double your wins there. Go into next season, have another good draft, and go heavy on the free agency, and then we can start rolling from there. But I really believe that we definitely have to be patient, start those rookies tomorrow, and let them roll because this schedule is up, man. We're playing the top teams, man. As far as defense, we saw Houston, this week, we got like 7 or 8 teams that are in the top 10 in points allowed. So this season, we got to really be patient. We're playing a tough team. We're playing both Super Bowl teams. Along with our division, it's going to be tough with Mahomes coming back. So really got to be patient this year. Start the kids tomorrow and let them roll, buddy. All right? But I'll see you this season, though. I'll talk to you.
All right. I like it. Really good call, man. Mark, it's great to hear from you. And, yeah, I would have no problem if they really went with that youth movement and had a lot of these guys that are expected to be big-time playmakers out there and show a lot and show what they could bring to the table. I'm not saying that every rookie has to get the burn, but, I mean, it's criminal what happened last year, especially once they realized that, hey, this is not going to be that 10-win season that Pete Carroll expected it to be. You needed to get Besh out there. You needed to get Thornton out there. You needed to be able to see what Caleb Rogers could do, Charles Grant could do. Charles Grant is like the mystery man. Charles Grant is a guy that none of us really talk about. We all talk about Caleb Rogers. We all talk about DJ Glaze, but Charles Grant is in the mix as well. Remember, he was drafted last year too, right? Those guys should have definitely been getting some burn last year, especially on that offensive line, man. As bad as the offensive line was last year, everybody should have got a chance at it. You get a crack, you get a crack, you get a crack, you get a chance. Like, if you can block anybody, you should have had an opportunity, right? They should have put out an ad an ad online. It used to be in the paper. Ain't nobody read the paper no more, so they should have put an ad online. Put that out there on LinkedIn or Indeed. Looking for a pass blocker. Looking for an offensive lineman. Hell, Connor is an offensive lineman in studio. Connor should have been out there giving his crack at it, right? As bad as the offensive line was last year, somebody needed to get that opportunity to go for it. Outside of Stone Forsythe and, Jordan Meredith and Alex Kappa, right? And I know Meredith is still around, but that was not good option. 702-365-9200. We got our resident offensive lineman, Lincoln Kennedy, coming up in less than 15 minutes. But let's go ahead and go back out to the phone lines, talk to our guy, Hardcore Raider. Hardcore, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, speaking of the professor, man, we should have hit him up. See if he wants to go for another run out there.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
Hey, speaking of doing things right, man, I thought Michael Mayer and Jack Vetch did things right last game, and I want to see him do it again, man. I want to see it continued. You got a good stepping stone foundation, but let's see again. And I'd love to see Vetch and both of them, but Vetch get like a nice big play. And then as far as Mendoza, look, man, like I want to see him in a difficult situation, and I don't mean that the wrong way, but we get stuck in a lot of 3rd and 15s, third and long situations, and it hurts our team. It's usually because some dumb penalty or something, right? You look at some of the best quarterbacks from Tom Brady, especially Patrick Mahomes. I hate to say it, but how many times have you seen Patrick Mahomes against the Raiders and other teams? It's like 3rd and 20, and somehow that dude pulls out a first down. And it's like, dude, how did that even happen? That's what I want to see Fernando Mendoza have, because I think he has it within him, dude. Like certain guys, like when the chips are down and stacked against them, they just have like some sort of magic, dude. I can't explain it, but just it's like all the stars align, and we saw it for years with Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and then now with Mahomes, dude. I want to see Fernando Mendoza in a difficult situation and things are stacked against him and see how he rises to the occasion. I want to see a big play. I want to see it. I want to see him make it happen. Obviously it's a team sport, but like if we see that, man, that's what I've been wanting for, I can't even tell you, probably since Rich Gannon, dude. I mean, we saw a little bit of Derek Carr, but we need some of that magic, dude, when the chips are down. So I want to see what Fernando Mendoza has when his back's against the wall. But I appreciate it, bro, and we'll see how this game goes.
Yeah, hey, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Really good call. Do appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, sooner rather than later, you'll definitely see Mendoza out there. You'll expect to see him ball out as far as I'm concerned. So that's definitely something to look forward to. That's going to be, I want to say, kind of a slow drip type process, but I mean, it is what it is at this stage of the game. I do think that he's going to continue to grow. I look forward to seeing him continue to grow and show what he could bring to the table. And yeah, it's good times with that guy, because I do expect him to be that next level dude as far as I'm concerned. And if you know what I mean by that, where, he just learns from the mistakes that he makes, and he learns how to process it, and he knows how to make it better, right? He knows how, okay, this is what I did wrong. This is why I shouldn't do this. I know exactly where I need to, how do I fit this into, this whole, how to just even the pick six that he threw against Jalen Petrie, when he said, hey, I thought the safety was a little bit deeper. I tried to fit a puzzle into, I put this puzzle piece into a spot that it didn't fit, and I got burned. But I got burned in practice, so I learned from it. So now I know how to process it, know kind of, what he's looking at a little bit more. And he's one of those dudes that, in my opinion, will just, continue to grow and build off of that, and even learn from his mistakes, because very rarely do you see him continue to make the same mistake multiple times. Thanks so much for the call. Do appreciate you. Let's see. Mayo said, no need to rush Mendoza out there too soon. We need to make sure the offensive line can protect him from brutal hits, or we're wasting our QB talent. There's that. Jersey Dave said, I want to see Caleb Rogers nail down that starting guard position. JPJ is just hurt too much to count on them. O-line. Thanks. That's Jersey Dave. East Oakland Raiders said, what's up, Q? First and most importantly, no injuries tomorrow, but I want to see the D-line step up. There's no reason Gardner Minshew has the stats he did last week. We've seen who he is. And two offensive line, don't let them take your lunch. Okay, there's that. I'm interested to see what it's going to look like when it comes to the offensive line and defensive line, since the report from Aaron Wilson said that not many of the Texans starters are going to be playing. So it's going to be interesting to see what that actually looks like. And are they going to put C.J. Stroud out there if they don't have their starting offensive line, right? And look, it's not like the Texans' offensive line has been some juggernaut. Remember, that's been one of the big bugaboos. That was even a bugaboo last year, is that their offensive line wasn't very good, and that led to some of his struggles. So if their starting offensive line doesn't go out there and play, and I'm not saying that they won't, but if he doesn't, or if they don't, will he go play? Because why would they want to set him up for failure when they know that they need their guy? Thanks so much for that text. Appreciate you. Diego in Arizona said, after the game, I want Michael Mayer to come alive and fall in love with the game. I know that TD must have felt good. Also, I want the new signings and draft picks to feel the love from Raider Nation. They might not know how much passion the fan base has until week 1, but we all stand behind them. I'll tell you what, when it comes to Michael Mayer, I think he definitely has all the love for the game that you want. You could tell that he is excited and really does want to be that guy, right? He does want to be, the not the main guy, because he understands that Brock Bowers is that guy, but he does want to be a very important person and a very important factor in this Raiders offense, and all he continues to do is work really hard to be in the best position he can be when his number is called, and that's all that you can really ask for is that kind of mentality and that kind of person that's willing to put in the work. He was out there after, as Clint Kubiak said, his nose got busted open, and then all of a sudden, boom, he was out there. He missed one practice and then he was back out. So that just kind of shows you his mentality. He could have easily milked it and said, no, I'm not going to go out there today. I'm going to miss a couple days as I heal up. And he literally missed one practice. He was out there on the field, but wasn't out there playing. So, again, that's the kind of mentality. That's the kind of player that you want as far as I'm concerned. Thanks so much for that. I do appreciate you. Sean, he said, Q, we need to give a shout-out to our strength and conditioning staff. I'm seeing all these injuries around the league, and it's crazy. We've got one hell of a staff. I'm praying we all stay healthy. Knock on wood if you're with me. God bless and go Raiders. That's funny that you mentioned that, because there's been questions about Alex Guerrero and his role that he plays, and is he or isn't he this guy. But I'll tell you what, to me, it's been 2 years now in a row where I feel like the strength and conditioning team has done a really good job as far as getting these guys to the beginning, to the starting blocks, right? And even navigating through the heat that's in Vegas, where they practice at the Raider facility there in Henderson. All the players that I talked to after practice last year, they all said, hey, man, Alex and his team have a really good plan of how we hydrate, how we stay conditioned, and so that the heat doesn't hurt us. And every time there's any kind of a little bump and bruise, a player looks like they're maybe slow to get up or whatever, AG is always out there. Alex Guerrero is always out there, working, and his team is always working to make sure those guys are in really good positions. So I'm with you there. I think that they're doing a really good job. I don't know everything else that goes on, with him and his staff. I'd be lying to you if I said that I did, but I could tell you that from the strength and conditioning, from the way that those guys, stay in shape, and they're not getting all these different injuries like you're seeing across the league, and like you said, knock on wood, make sure that they stay healthy. That's a credit to those guys. It seems like they really do have a good plan for these guys moving forward. Even Jamad McCoy, they've had a plan for him, and he's been out there just about every single day except for the time that they planned off. So really good stuff. Thanks so much for that. Do appreciate you. 702-365-9200. I know that we've got winning on the way. We'll get to that a little bit later on the show. Coming up next, we got our guy, Lincoln Kennedy, the professor. He'll talk all things offensive line, what to look for in tomorrow's game. That's coming up next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
Las Vegas Raiders analyst Lincoln Kennedy is live on Unnecessary Roughness right now on Raider Nation Radio 920.
As we prepare to see what the Raiders are going to do in preseason game number 2 versus Houston Texans, obviously we know they have a really strong defensive line. That's going to be a hell of a test for who? The Raiders' offensive line. It's Unnecessary Roughness here on Raider Nation Radio 920. Who better to talk about that offensive line than the professor? That's Lincoln Kennedy, as he joins us now on the phone lines. And Link, thanks so much for your time. You knew I appreciate you. I got a deep dive on this offensive line, man. I mean, it's been a little bit of shuffling. Obviously, it's a new scheme. Rick Dennison is the coach, and JPJ, don't know if he's going to play or not. That's TBD. But for the guys that are out there tomorrow going up against the Texans and that incredible defensive front, what would you like to see from them in preseason game number 2?
A little bit more play out of the starting offensive line. No, in all honesty, Q, it comes to a maturation process, and you and I have talked many times about what our collective philosophy is when it takes to getting an offensive line to gel. You cannot duplicate game speed in practice. Even when you're practicing against another team, there's only so far that you can take it in realistic situations and practical situations. With that being said, it's a matter of how many plays can I get what my future expectations are out of this offensive line together.
Right.
How long can they play together? If it's one series and we go down and score, well, you're pulled off the field. I understand that. There are certain guys, and we've talked about it, in my opinion, don't need preseason, but they need to find a way to gel and bond with game speed. So you have to put them out there. Cole Miller doesn't need preseason. Cole Miller's not going to see anything different in preseason that he's seen in all the seasons that he played, but this is a new collective offensive line. You got Burford, who's a free agent acquisition out of San Francisco. He hasn't played with this offensive line. You adjust the center position when you bring in Tyler Linderbaum. He hasn't played with this offensive line. There's a big question mark at right guard, Q. What are we doing? JPJ, Caleb Rogers? They haven't played together on this offensive line, along with DJ Glaze. These guys have to play together.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You got to have them out there.
Right. Yep.
Well, I mean, my point is that you have to have them out there. You have to have them out there in game time situations because that's the only way that you can simulate the speed of the NFL. But you run the risk of these guys getting injured, these guys getting banged up. And in this case, with JPJ, we don't know when we're going to see him again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be a situation for sure to continue to monitor. And I said it a little while ago, Link. We haven't even talked about Charles Grant. He's almost like the invisible man, right? He's the guy that was drafted last year, and everything I hear is high expectations on him, but we haven't seen a whole lot. So it feels like there's a lot of guys on the offensive line, a lot of guys available, but we don't know who fits where, if I'm seeing this thing correctly.
Well, I mean, look, I evaluated like this. I watched a lot of Charles Grant in this last game. There are things that he did better than he did in small sample size that I had last year. I thought he did pretty good, especially in the run game when it came to the time he's played this last game. But there are certain things that he struggled with. He struggled with the bull power rushes and stuff like that. Collapse in the pocket. He needs, in my opinion, he's got to stand firm. But what are we expecting out of a guy like Charles Grant? What are we looking for? You're a capable backup that can play both positions. Trey Zoon was drafted because he had the ability to play in all the positions. That means he's like a switchblade. You keep that switchblade in your pocket. You see what I'm saying? You don't play that. You don't expose that. But there were some things that Trey needed to work on in the previous game against the Cardinals. So, I gotta figure it out. You got to figure out that balance. If you see the frustration, you can understand the frustration. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep, absolutely. It's a fine line for sure as they're trying to build this thing up. Again, Lincoln Kennedy is with us here, Raider Nation Radio 920. What do you think a good balance would be for Fernando Mendoza? We saw him play a handful of drives last week as opposed to Kirk Cousins, who only got the first drive, but he went down there and scored, like you said earlier.
Yeah, if Kirk goes down and score, his day is done. That's it. Okay. If I want to get Fernando in the game, I'm going to utilize it after Kirk sits down, whether it's that second series or the first quarter. And then I'm going to have him play well into the second half. I want to see how he manages a possible 2-minute situation and manages the clock if you're ahead with that type of thing. These are certain circumstances that you want to see a maturation of a quarterback, along with getting that in-game speed, along with my best offensive line, because I don't know if it's going to be the starting offensive line, but it's the best offensive line they have. You run that risk, you run that gambit, but here's the thing. I'm going to call plays that's getting the ball out of his hands as quickly as possible, or I'm going to utilize a game plan where I'm running the ball more, so I don't have to worry about my quarterback being injured.
We saw last week Jack Bech have success. We didn't see D'Onté Thornton Jr. Didn't see D'Onté Thornton Jr. at practice yesterday. He was off to the side. He's losing valuable reps as far as I'm concerned. What are your thoughts on D'Onté Thornton Jr.? What does he need to do to get back on the field, like get his name back in the mix, Link?
Well, that's the big thing. How tough is the guy? What can you tolerate pain-wise? I don't know what's going on with him, but he's running the risk of losing his job. Now, I will say this. The one thing that's in his corner is the fact that you have the most recent, general manager staff who drafted him. Mm-hmm. So they're not likely to give up on a draft choice that easy. There's a little certain amount of leeway, but as you mentioned, time's passing them by. Other people are gaining position and everything else. Do you put them on IR? Then that's a wasted IR position for a guy that you might expect to come back. I mean, the way they work around the rules. So you have that advantage, but it's still a roster spot.
Yeah, it is. It is, and that's going to be a big question of how they go and approach that, and how these other wide receivers that are out there can make a name for themselves, including Malik Benson, who is a sixth-round pick. But man, he's been in the mix the whole time, and he's been developing a really good relationship with Fernando Mendoza. So I keep saying, no matter when he gets into the mix, Mendoza that is, he's going to have that built-in chemistry already with Malik Benson. All that could do, in my opinion, is help both of those individuals. What are your thoughts on that they're building that chemistry right now?
I don't mind it. It's to be expected. If you're a receiver that's coming into the National Football League and you're not playing with your familiar quarterback, who's going to be your new best friend? That quarterback. I'm going to do everything I can to make myself noticeable. When any given play is called, he wants to notice my number. And when you have a primary receiver, that's what it comes down to. And the relationship that they have with the quarterback. Look at all the great tandems back in the day. It was a chemistry where the quarterback knew that he could rely on getting the ball in this receiver's hands and we're going to have success. Boom.
Right.
Natural. Makes sense.
The Raiders didn't have success in the run game on Tuesday in this joint practice. Clint Kubiak had mentioned that he'd like to see a little bit more. I have no doubt that Asher Genty is going to be really good in this system as long as the offensive line is in place. But what do you think about that 1-2 punch between Genty and Mike Washington, especially after what we saw Mike Washington do last week?
It's a great changeup. It really is. It's a great changeup, and it allows your offensive line to feel more versatile than a one-way, one-way road. It allows you to change up things from the power run game to the isolated zone game to the extended zone game. All these things are factors in the run game which allow guys' offensive line to be aggressive. It's a great changeup.
And this ground game has got to work, right? The run game for this offense,
absolutely,
you got to have it. You got to have it. So there's going to be a big emphasis on that. Defensively, it's vanilla. You're not going to see a lot in the preseason. You've mentioned that before, even after the post or even at the post game last week.
Yeah.
Where are you at with this defense and how they stand so far? Very small sample size.
Well, they've got to get better in their, obviously, coverage game, right? They got to get better in understanding that. Look, there are times where I've seen defensive coordinators said, I'm just going to let my athletes go out there and play. So with that being said, will we see Max Crosby? We can see him in the first game, but he's one of those difference makers that you definitely notice on the field, which allow other guys to get opportunities to play better. With that being said, if it's just a one-on-one and it comes down to basic coverage because you're going to see this team again or just don't want to show too much, however Robbie Leonard's philosophy was, there were so many holes that the defense didn't get off the field.
Right.
You can't have
that young secondary. No, yes. You can't. And look, they went 15 for 15. The Cardinals went 15 for 15 in the first half.
Yeah.
The young secondary really got dominated. Any concern yet, or do you just want to – maybe that was just a welcome to the NFL type moment?
too small of a sample size to make a judgment from it, really.
Yeah. No, I'm
really
with you. That's why I don't want to.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I don't want to, overreact to it. It's something that, it caught my attention, but I don't want to overreact because, like you said, this is too small of a sample size. They're young. I know it's the preseason, so I want to kind of just say, chalk it up to growing pains and a learning experience. But if you see it again, Link, it to me, it feels like that could be a concern then.
Well, look, that might make for a concern, but you also take in consideration how embarrassing it is to lose to, Gardner Minshew and Jacoby Brissett the way they did. Yeah. It's like, dude, if Peyton Manning, I understand and company, but come on, they went perfect for the first half.
Yeah,
they didn't punch in the fourth quarter, and we're talking about the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
If you can't be embarrassed by that to rise up to the occasion, like, damn, I need to play better, I don't know what else to motivate you.
Right. That's a big fact. That's a big fact right there from the Professor. Lincoln Kennedy is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Well, we'll close out with this, Lincoln. It's always great catching up with you. What is it that you're going to look at the most tomorrow? Like, where is your sole focus going to go? Not sole focus, but most of your attention go tomorrow.
Obviously, it's going to go to the front. It's going to go to whatever collaboration, Coach Tennyson and his coaching staff puts out there to play against what I expect to be a playoff-bound team in the Houston Texans. They are that quality. This is a great opportunity to see where your guys are and to be able to show it on film what you need to work on and how you need to improve. This is a great teaching moment. But to what level do we see that? And that's what we have to play, and that's why I'm a little bit reluctant from giving all my heart to what I see until I see it. I got to see these guys play together before I can start making an assessment on that guy gets it or he doesn't need to make a change there. And I'm saddened because I don't know if JPJ is available, but I think that he gives the most nasty to this group. Mm-hmm. And that's what you need to play in the National Football League offensive line. You need that level of nasty.
Right, and he just has to be available, and we don't know as of right now if he's going to be available tomorrow. We don't know if he's going to be available in the long haul, so that's something obviously to pay attention to. Well, Link, it's always great, man. It's always fun catching up with you. We appreciate it when you drop nuggets on us and knowledge, and enjoy the game tomorrow. We'll catch up post-game show for sure.
Sounds like a plan, my man. I'll talk to you soon. All right, brother.
All right, appreciate it. Lincoln Kennedy right there, the professor with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920. And that's the reality when it comes to JPJ. I believe he's that nasty. He can provide that nasty that Lincoln's talking about. I believe he could be that, that number one dude. He could be the identity to that offensive line. But, man, you can't be that guy if you're not out there. And, we talked about it. We talked about it all week. And, some think that we're, going and panicking too quickly. And that's not the case. The case is just love to see him out there. He's not out there consistently. How does that hurt this offensive line moving forward for consistency and for that identity and that nasty that Link was talking about? So, that's definitely concerning. We'll see what it looks like coming up tomorrow. We'll see what it looks like when it comes to the Houston Texans and who they roll out there to play, as Aaron Wilson has reported that a lot of the starters are not going to play. D'Amico Ryans has changed his mind from the original plan. But we do want to hear from you. We never change our mind from the original plan. 702-365-9200. Who and what do you want to see from this team tomorrow? What is it you'll be looking for? Who is it that we'll be talking about on Aloha Friday? 702-365-9200. We close out hour number 2 hearing from you. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q on RaiderNation Radio 920 AM.
Coming up at the top of the hour, we've got Brandy Flores from the Las Vegas Sports Network. She's here in Houston as well. She was at joint practice yesterday. Went out to lunch with me and the General, John McClain, yesterday, and she'll be in attendance for tomorrow's game. Raiders and Texans. So, of course, we'll get her thoughts on all things Houston. Got to ask her about this heat, how it's slapping her in the face, and also, just the team in general, what her expectations, who she's going to be looking for. That's coming up at top of the hour at 4 o'clock. I believe she's on right now with our sister station, ESPN Las Vegas, Cofield and Company. So as soon as she's wrapped up there, she will join us. And real quick, wanted to pass this along from Adam Schefter. He just tweeted out about a minute ago, ESPN sources, two-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle Vita Vea and the Buccaneers have reached an agreement today on a one-year extension for $30 million, tying him to Tampa Bay for 2 more seasons. He gets $6 million in new money this season. So saw Schefter earlier today on Pat McAfee, and he was saying that he thought that there was a way that the Buccaneers, that Vita Vea and his people were going to get something worked out, and that's when I knew then, okay, pretty soon we should hear about an extension, and that's what Tampa Bay did. And you see what they did, though. As much as they value him, they gave him a one-year extension. Right? They gave him a one-year extension for $30 million. He's getting $6 million in new money this season. So what Vita Vea, I'm sure, was looking for was a 2, 3, 4-year deal. But at his age, you just know that there's not going to be too many teams that are going to go out there and do that. And I didn't think that any team, especially the Raiders, were going to be willing to give up some draft capital for him. And, oh, by the way, Tampa Bay didn't want to move on from him anyway, clearly. Todd Bowles had talked about the fact that he's a key on that key cog on that defensive line. Really needed to have him there, so it made all the sense in the world that he was, in fact, going to stick there. So not a surprise that he got that contract extension from the Buccaneers, but it just kind of puts that conversation to rest. Anyone who thought that maybe there was a chance that he would end up with the silver and black. It is Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Got some text that I want to get to real quick as we close out hour number 2 of the show. And, of course, we'd love to hear from you on the phone lines as well. You keep all that feedback coming. Who and what do you want to see from this team coming up tomorrow? What is that you'll be looking for, and who is it that we'll be talking about coming up on Aloha Friday? Again, 702-365-9200. Jason said, I just want to say thank you for everything y'all been doing. Can't wait for the season. I'm excited. Quick, fast, in a hurry, because I know you guys cover the Raiders like a glove. That's Jason using a couple of my one-liners. I appreciate that. Good stuff. And, yeah, we're pretty excited and fired up as well about the upcoming season. Let's see. Luke in L.A. said, I want to see our corners be much more physical. What was frustrating during the Cardinals game was that they were in good position, but were all thrown off a little bit, a little push off here, a little physicality at the top of the route. While I'm hoping for everyone to be better, Stokes and Porter need to show that they belong there. Masses and McCoy are going to grow, but the incumbents need to prove that they're worth the salt. That's a Q reference, and yes, it is a Q reference for sure. And yeah, there was a lot of, I know, Raider fans that were upset by a little push off here, a little push off there. That's what they all do. They all have, and the better wide receivers they are, better tight ends they are, better pass catchers they are, the better that they are at pushing off. So, yeah, that's just going to happen, and we can't sit there and look and say, oh, well, that would have been good coverage, or they would have made the play if there wasn't a push-off. It's the National Football League, man. This is what they're going to do. The really good ones are going to be able to do that and get away with it. So thanks so much for that. Do appreciate it. Got some more feedback. Let's see. This one comes from Slow Jams James. He said, hey, Q, Slow Jam James here. I want to see the defense win third downs more than they lose. I also want to see the offense score 7 in the red zone and not just 3. So, yeah, there was some red zone success last time, right? I mean, that's when Fernando Mendoza was able to get that touchdown pass to Jack Besh, and I thought at first that they were going to have to settle for 3 because they were going the wrong direction. After they picked up that first down, they started going backwards, but a nice little pass play there on third down to Jack Besh to get him into the end zone. Would like to see them have more success. Would like to see them have some more success on the ground, to be honest. I'd love to see the Raiders be able to have, some success with the running game. And it's one of those that was a big struggle yesterday, right? It's something that Clint Kubiak talked about. He would like to have been a lot more productive in the run game. I would have liked to see a lot of more production from the run game. I'd like to see Genty. I'd like to see Mike Washington. I think it's a nice 1-2 punch. I think those guys could be good complements to each other. But it all goes back to the success of the offensive line. That is for sure. Let's see. What else do we have? 702-365-9200. This one's from our guy, Hot Sauce Raider. Q, is Malcolm Kuntz still on this squad? I haven't heard his name called since the start of training camp. Dude has been as quiet as a church mouse. Very disappointing and frustrating. Go Raiders. Yeah, he's out there. He actually walked past me yesterday, and we were at the facility when they were coming out of the locker room to hit the practice field. He's there. What kind of role is he going to play this year? I think that's a good question about Malcolm Koonce. What kind of role, what kind of impact is he going to be able to have? We saw what he did at the end of the 2023 season after Antonio Pierce took over, and he was dominant. And I believe that he was going to have a big-time 2024 season. Obviously, we'll never know because he tore his ACL. Last year, he was still coming back and was, I don't think he had it between the ears. This year, I look at it like I look at, some other players around the league. There's no excuses. And I'm not saying that he's making excuses, but there's no reason why he doesn't have success this year. He's now a couple seasons removed from the torn ACL, right? That happened before the 2024 season. So he had the whole 2024 season to rehab and come back. 2025, he kind of eased his way through the season. Looked like he was a little shaky, wasn't 100% confident in how healthy he was. I always say didn't have it really between the ears. And that season's in the books. Now it's coming up on the 2026 season. Season starts on September 13th as they host the Miami Dolphins. Malcolm Koonce needs to hit the ground running. He absolutely needs to hit the ground running. If he could do that, then the Raiders will be in a good position, but they definitely need Malcolm Koonce. So really good stuff. Do appreciate that. You want to hit us up? We got some winning right now. How about Rebel tickets? UNLV versus Memphis. It's August 29th. First game of the UNLV season. Legion Stadium. You want those tickets? We have them. Call number 9, 702-365-9200. Call number 9. Go see UNLV in Memphis. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
And here we go, kicking off hour number 3 of the show. It is Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. We do want to hear from you at 702-365-9200. We'll be talking about this game coming up on Thursday. Raiders-Texans preseason action number 2. Threw the question out there to you. Who and what do you want to see from this team tomorrow? What is it that you'll be looking for? And who is it that we'll be talking about coming up on Aloha Friday? Again, 702-365-9200. Do want to real quick hit a couple texts. We got Brandy Flores from the Las Vegas Sports Network. She's going to be joining us in a matter of seconds. But Grumpy Ass Mexican hit us on the text line and said, Q, to answer the topic for today, I want to see the team win and win with their chest out. Don't let up on the throttle from beginning to end like past coaches have done. Also, I want to see the defense have a takeaway. One for sure, but multiple would be great. I would love to see a takeaway as well. The wins and losses don't really matter to me. Go out there, compete, show that you're not being overmatched. Don't have that takeaway of, that's a playoff team that might go to the Super Bowl, and this is a Raider team that's rebuilding. Like, go out there and compete with those dudes, whoever's out there, and just show that, you belong on that same field with this team and that you compete with the better ones in the league. Got this text from Cherie. I think it's Cherie. Did something happen with Michael Mayer? It says he's unavailable. I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know where that came from. I'll have to do some, research in there on that. But as far as I'm concerned, nothing's happened with Mayer. So I'm out there at practice. So I think that he's good to go. But maybe there's something that, like I said, I haven't seen as of yet. So I can. Like I said, if I see anything, I'll definitely catch up with you on that and try to pass that information along. So thanks so much. What else do we have? Got a text from was this Luke? Oh, no, here we go. Brad, I guess I'm piggybacking on this one, but I'd like to see the DBs tighten it up as the ball is within his and wide receivers' range. All last game, we saw pretty decent coverage until the ball was in 10 feet, and then there they go. I mean, within that final 1 to 2 seconds, literally where'd they go? I was scratching my head on all of those. That's from our guy, Brad. We do appreciate that. And, yeah, the secondary has to be a lot better. Keep that feedback coming at 702-365-9200. Join us now on the phone lines, as promised, is our good friend Brandy Flores for the Las Vegas Sports Network, and of course she's here in Houston as well, getting ready for the game coming up on tomorrow, Raiders and Texans. And Brandy, thanks so much for your time. Do appreciate you. Before we get into expectations for tomorrow and what you're looking for, you're here in Houston. A lot of people trying to deal with this humidity. How has Houston been treating you so far?
Well, Q, I lived 3 years on the East Coast in D.C., and it gets really, really humid over there. And I covered training camps outside next to a swamp, actually, in Ashburn, Virginia. So when I heard we were coming to Houston, I was like, all right, let me dig back into my bag. How did I survive previously? And, I think everything worked out okay. You just can't you just got to wear black always. So that way if you sweat, you can't really tell. And just make sure your hair is out of your face and like nothing extra that's on your body besides your clothes and your shoes is touching you. But other than that, no, it's I have been surviving. Houston is a great city. I'm excited to spend the next couple days here and try some more food because that's what they're known for.
Yeah, no doubt. Shout out to the General, John McClain, who took us out to lunch on yesterday. That was really cool of him. Obviously, he's a fantastic dude. You got to know him. So, John McClain is the guy that everyone wants to know. He's the guy you got to check in with. When you come to Houston, you got to check in and let him know you're in town or else you're in trouble. So now you know. Now you know. But I did want to get your thoughts on, even what you saw on Tuesday from the Raiders, from the Texans, just kind of what was your overall impression of that joint practice?
Well, I think going into it, we all expected the Texans to be much better than the Raiders. And from the jump, even just in drills, that was very evident. I was kind of bouncing back and forth. I didn't focus too much watching the Raiders first team offense or the Raiders first team defense. But from what I did see from the offense, obviously they did struggle, but the Texans are one of the top defenses in the league last year, coming in just as strong, if not stronger this year. And the offensive line were tested. And rightfully so, which I think is the whole reason why Clinton Kubiak wanted to bring his team to Houston, wanted to see kind of where they're at because they have big ambitions, big goals. And it's like, all right, going up against a great defensive front, how do we get better from here? Because he knew it was going to be a struggle, obviously, for them. And obviously, Kirk and Fernando, every quarterback struggled, I think. But I think what stood out the most, especially when we're talking about Fernando, is he didn't seem defeated. I think we've seen him do this since his days in Indiana and Cal. He's able to make a mistake, something goes haywire, but able to reel himself back in, contain his composure, be poised, and still go out there and try to go on to the next play. It's not like he's forgetting about what happened, just throwing it, backwards. He's going to look at it later and learn from it, but being able to still move forward. And we saw a lot of great plays as well from Fernando. So I think that to me is really important because especially when you're a rookie, he's only faced his own defense in the NFL for up to this point. And even then, they're not trying to stack him, right? And I think him being able to go up against their first team while he was also working with the first team offense really gave him a glimpse of like, okay, this is more realistic for me if he wants to become the first year quarterback sooner rather than later. Where does he need to go? And even speaking with him afterwards, he seemed excited. Like I mentioned, it was a very up and down day for him and the entire team, right? In every phase. But he was excited. He's like, yeah, now I know what the challenges are. Now I've been through that, so now I can learn from it. Like he was excited to go back and watch the film and write down in his notebook. And I think that is something that he's always done. And it's good to see him translate what he said that he did do and go through in college, especially going from Cal to Indiana, and then now translating those same skill sets and keeping his same demeanor and composure to the league. And I think that that's very promising for the Raiders to see. I'm sure the Raiders coaches all said that as well. And you even had the Texans defensive players talking positively about Fernando, how, he's going to be a great quarterback in this league by the way that he leads his team. And, I think that we did see a lot of first team action from Fernando as well. I thought, as I was just kind of saying, a little bit similar as to how Kirk did, honestly. But they went up against a tough team, a very tough team who is trying to win a Super Bowl now. So, and if not for some injuries maybe last year that they had, they were legit contenders last year at one point. And the Raiders actually held their own last season, right, against them. So I think now that this team's better, they're doing things the right way in this rebuild, and that was very shown as evidently as possible in this joint practice with what they were trying to do and how they approached it. And I think also I was talking to one of our other Raiders reporters, and I was like, what's the over-under? They're going to get into like 3 fights today. Because that's just how, not saying that the both teams are just unruly, but there's a lot of aggression. Like we said, it's hot. Mm-hmm. And so when you see another guy in another jersey, it's going to ramp everything up. Adam Beller told us that he wanted mayhem in a joint practice. And we didn't really see that. I mean, we saw Max get into an offensive lineman. We saw Eric Stokes and Connor Hayward have some choice words and get in a little mini discussion, looked heated from the far side of the field. And then we also saw Connor Hayward get ran over by the Texans. So it was a good joint practice, I think, for both sides. I believe the Texans, one of their wide receivers did come away with an injury, which is a bummer for them. But no injuries and no further aggravations for the Raiders, which I think is a huge, huge plus. And the defense, their run defense needs work. But I think that, like everything we talk about with this team, work in progress. Obviously, these guys don't want to see it that way. They want to do well now, which is a good thing. But that's kind of what I took away from the joint practice.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And Jaden Higgins, unfortunately, is the one that went down for the Texans, torn ACL. We found that out earlier today, so that stinks. And that's just the reality of the NFL and, and training camp in general. You hate to see those injuries, but they do happen. Again, Brandy Flores is with us here. RaiderNation Radio 920, Unnecessary Roughness. With that being said, speaking of injuries, before we get to tomorrow night's game, JPJ did not participate. He was in street clothes on Tuesday. D'Onté Thornton Jr. was doing work off to the side. We don't know yet if they're going to participate in the game. It didn't sound like it when it came to Clint Kubiak. Or to JPJ, I should say, from Clint Kubiak. How valuable time is JPJ missing? How much can this actually hurt him in this competition that he has with Caleb Rogers for that right guard spot?
I mean, it is unfortunate that at the end of the day, when there's guys fighting for positions, a lot of the time some guys get opportunities and are able to take advantage of those opportunities when their teammate goes down. And this is kind of the case for JPJ. He wanted to have a big year. This will be the first time really on the Raiders for him where he's able to focus on one thing. So I think a lot of fans and the coaching staff, and he as well, were excited about the opportunity for him to really hone in his skills, working on one skill set, not having to go up and down the line every single game or in several different weeks. And so I think for him, it is unfortunate. We don't know, like Coach said, what the severity of the injury is. Not saying Coach doesn't know, but he's not going to tell us anything.
Right.
Clint Kubiak, you guys haven't noticed, will not tell us anything. You got to try to catch him. And Sam Gordon, shout out Sam Gordon, he asked Coach a good question where he had to pull it out of him. And as far as how many starters are going to play, and he still said, we'll see. But back to JPJ, honestly, it is tough for him, right? For all the things I just said. And now you see a guy like Caleb Rogers who has an opportunity. And if you're Caleb Rogers, if you don't step up to the plate here and you don't say, okay, well, we have to make it very difficult to where JPJ does come back to move you, Caleb, then it'd be kind of a wasted opportunity for him. And like I said, it's tough to say it like that because it has the expense of another injury. And Kubiak did say that he seemed pretty certain that we are not going to see JPJ on the field Thursday. So that is tough for him. Hopefully he can come back next week and play in the final preseason game, which who even knows if he will by then, because we don't even know how many or if any starters are going to play on Thursday against Houston. So it is tough for him. And I think that, like we say in this scenario, it's going to be a big opportunity, and not just for Caleb Rogers, right? Trey Zoon, the rookie. It's a good opportunity for him to be like, okay, now he's kind of moving up the ladder here. Where can he come and now make his stake for, hey, don't forget about me. I'm a rookie, but I'm learning just as fast on this new scheme that we're doing as you guys. And so it's a good opportunity. It's a big opportunity for both of those guys, I think. But for Caleb Rogers, especially the returner, he's got to make a big step up, and he's got to make it really difficult, like I said, to give JPJ that job back.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for JPJ. You hate to see a guy that you think has a lot of talent not be able to go out there and put it on display, but it's been the story of his career so far. A lot of missed time with him, and now Caleb Rogers gets his opportunity. Again, Brandy Flores with us here. RaiderNation Radio 920. You mentioned it. We don't know who's going to play. Clint Kubiak had mentioned the film will determine who's going to play. I don't know about you, but based off what I saw the film in my own head and with my own eyes, it looks like a lot of these guys need to play. Maybe not Max, maybe not Brock, but kind of who are you going to be looking for? Who do you kind of want to see more from coming up tomorrow here in Houston?
I want to see every defensive player play. Because I'm not saying it was an atrocious day for them. They made some good plays. Quay Walker had an interception at the very end as well. The secondary was kind of up and down, but like Nakobe Dean had told us after practice yesterday, they're still trying to see who and which pieces are going to fit where for certain schemes that they want to run and things like that. And they're still trying to figure it out, especially after you just saw Houston on Tuesday. What did you learn from that joint practice? What did you take away? What were some mistakes you made, some reads you missed? And then how can you get better against that same team, maybe even if it is for a series or two on Thursday? I think that will also show the coaching staff, all right, who's really paying attention? Because I think the common theme that everybody says, right, it's a lot of words. I'd like to think I believe it at this point because even I've heard it so many times now, but getting better, pushing each other to be better, right? This is the biggest test because if you have the starting defense go out on Thursday, you see the same guys making the same mistakes. Okay, who's not stepping up? Did you forget what happened? Mind you, obviously the NFL is very difficult. The Houston Texans are a good team. However, I think that will be a great marker for them to see, okay, how fast can we can we learn? How fast can we move on to the next thing and learn from any mistakes that we did? And especially if they're trying to see who's going to fit, the Raiders need all the time they could get. Yes, it's a rebuilding year. They're not trying to win the Super Bowl this year, but who knows? One, right. And then two, why, the players aren't seeing it that way themselves, right? They want to win. The coaching staff wants to win. They have a long-term plan, of course, but they want to win. So why not play a couple series? Yes, of course, injuries. That's why you sit guys like Max and Brock out. But especially for the new guys in the team, put your jersey on, get out onto the field. Let's see what you got. The offensive line, same thing as well. I think this is a great opportunity for the coaching staff to see, okay, mid-season, what is the depth on our offensive line if a JPJ goes down? If a Caleb Rogers goes down, if a Tyler Linderbaum goes down, you never know, right? And I think, especially with the big guys, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. So I think having depth on that line is going to be very integral and important. I did want to say, though, I think Kwity Paye did a pretty good job yesterday as well. Yeah. I did want to shout out Kwity Paye. I thought he did great.
No, he did. He got to got in the backfield quite a bit, was able to get some pressure, and Max obviously doing Max Crosby type things. But yeah, you do definitely want to shout out Kwity Paye. I thought he did a really good job. I'm glad you mentioned the offensive line, because what we saw last Thursday against the Cardinals was the first team offensive line, but only for a quick minute. And we saw Fernando in there for a long time. I would like to see, and I mentioned it earlier in the show, that I'd like to see the offensive line, the first team offensive line, whoever that's going to be out there for multiple series, just to try to get that continuity, see what it looks like. And when they do go to Fernando, and Clint Kubiak said he's going to get plenty of action this preseason, when they go to him, that first team offensive line is still there. How long do you think that those guys should play tomorrow night, if they do in fact play?
Well, let's see. If we're going back to how they did, let's just say how they did the first preseason game against Arizona. They played one series, score, touchdown, boom, call it a day.
Yep.
I don't think that that's going to happen against Houston. If Houston, I assume Houston, at least for the first series, will play most of their defensive starters. And if not, they're a pretty deep team defensively. So it'll still be great competition and a good learning experience for the offensive line. I would say give me two series with Kirk at quarterback, and then maybe one with Fernando, because obviously Fernando's going to play a lot more. He played a whole half of football, I want to say, just about last game. Mm-hmm. And so this game, I see him playing about the same amount of time. Unless, Fernando just comes in and just drives downfield twice and scores a touchdown both times. I think that would be a good reason. Okay, we saw him a couple series, let's just take him out, because then that shows progress, right? And if you're going to give Fernando the opportunity to take Kirk Cousins' job, then you do want to make sure he's not out there every single player as long as you need him to, right? And so I think I would say give me at least 3 series. That would be, I think, a good judge. 1 series is Fernando. Hopefully they score. That would be, if Fernando drives downfield with the first team offensive line, first team offense, and scores a touchdown immediately, that's going to be a talker all next week, Q. When are they going to name Fernando starter?
Right.
That would definitely, but obviously that's what you want to see.
Yes. No, there's no doubt about that. And it's funny, you led me right to where I wanted to wrap up. It's another question I threw to Raider Nation earlier. With no shows being tomorrow because of the game, and also we have Aviators games here on Raider Nation Radio 920, we won't be back until Friday. But on Friday, when this fine show, Unnecessary Roughness, is airing, what is the player, in your opinion, that we'll be talking about the most? And what I mean by that, last Friday we were talking about Jack Besh. We were talking about Michael Mayer for what they were able to do. Who do you think we'll be talking about? Who do you think we'll be highlighting on Friday when this show is on the airways here?
That's a good question.
That's what I do.
I'm stuck between two guys.
That's what I do.
Always. Always. Well, listen, Mike Washington had a great outing in his first preseason game as well. I feel like I don't want to say he flew under the radar because people were still talking about him, just not as much as, of course, Fernando Mendoza or Jack Besh. Which I did not realize. Mind you guys, this is my first year covering the Raiders. I didn't realize that Jack Besh scored his first touchdown ever in the NFL last week. That I was hearing him talk about it after the game. I was like, he really didn't? And so I started thinking back, like, oh my God, he didn't. Yep. Because they're talking about him keeping the ball and everything. So I think that was obviously, a bigger deal. But I would say between Mike Washington and, hold on, because I'm supposed to just pick one.
That's all right. You could cheat and give me 2 if you want to. That's okay.
Well, I think it's going to be Caleb Rogers because this is okay, time to step up. Time to step up, see what we see. And I think depending on how he does, that could lead to a conversation about Trey Zoon, because I do think that the coaching staff is going to throw Trey Zoon in there to see how he does. Because now there's an open spot. Okay, Ricky, how are you going to handle this?
I like it. I like that. Mike Washington, definitely want to show him some love. He had a really good game last week. But, yeah, Mike Washington could be easily a guy we're talking about some more. And then you throw it out there, Caleb Rogers. That could be a good talking point, and that'll be a lot of fun on Aloha Friday. It'll be a lot of fun being back in Vegas as well, which we will be coming up on Friday when we get back to this show.
Yes.
So Houston has been nice, but I'll be glad to get back to town. So, okay, there you go. I like that. I'm going to go ahead and write that down and see if Brandy Flores, if her prediction comes correct for this team as they take on the Texans tomorrow evening here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Brandy, fantastic stuff. I would ask you what you're working on, but I know what it is. It's Raiders and Texans. It's Houston, where you're at right now, and I'll see you in the press box tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. And be sure, everybody, subscribe to our YouTube channel, RaiderNation Radio 920. All the recaps. I got Vinny and Q doing their mini podcast again after every game and recap, so you definitely don't want to miss that. That's on our YouTube page, RaiderNation Radio 920. Subscribe.
Yes, definitely. Do what she just said. Subscribe. Brandy, thanks so much. Great stuff. As always, see you in the press box coming up on tomorrow. But definitely subscribe to the YouTube page. Brandy does a fantastic job making sure that we are on point. She's been putting me and Vinny to work for sure, and we definitely appreciate her. Her coverage has been fantastic. Even when she does her recaps, they're fantastic at practice. So definitely check her out at _Brandy Flores on Twitter. But we do want to hear from you as we roll on here. Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio 920, 702-365-9200. My guy Just Win Will hit us on the text line, said, great topic, Q. Here I go. I'm watching for third down conversion rate for both sides of the ball, PBUs and efficient tackling, kick return and punt return possessions, secondary being more sticky in coverage, Kubiak looking more comfortable in that head coaching role, and the last one is my favorite one. Thanks to your entire team for all the commitment. Y'all are the nation's real MVPs. Aloha Raiders. That's from our guy Just Win Will. Well, we appreciate you and appreciate having you to be able to pass the information along too. Believe me, I mean, if this is what we're tasked to do on the daily, we can't have a better life. This is fantastic. People always make the joke, live the dream. Definitely living the dream. Like this is great that this is what we do. We wake up to all the time, and this is our job. And man, I'm telling you, I don't feel like I've worked a day in my life, even though it's taxing. It's a lot of work, but it's not a lot of work, if you know what I mean, because it's definitely a labor of love. So thanks so much for that. Compliments, kick return, punt return, that would be great. Secondary, something we talked about quite a bit. Definitely need to be stickier, and a third down conversion rate. Just see the Raiders continue to extend drives and get off the field as well, right? Like you said, both sides of the ball. 3rd and 11, get off the field. 2nd and 15, that should be a drive that you're going to get off the field. Don't allow this Houston Texans team to convert. Really good stuff. Do appreciate that. Keep that feedback coming. 702-365-9200. Let's go back out to the phone lines. Talk to our guy, the Money Man, Money Mitch. Welcome to the show. Hopefully you're doing well today, my man. What's on your mind?
What's poppin'? I'm doing pretty good. Are you saying yesterday was one of my bad days?
No, I'm glad you called. I was gonna ask you because I couldn't tell. It sounded like that you were like down yesterday, and then someone said that they thought something happened with your grandson, and I wanted to make sure that he was okay.
He's fine. I have a little situation with my daughter.
Okay.
It's very hard to learn how to live with it. It's a little I guess she suffers from depression. Anyway, it's on and off. I'm not gonna be here forever. I got it.
It's very hard it's very
hard to talk.
Whatever you got going on, Money Mitch, we got your back, brother. That's all I'm trying to tell you.
And you guys are the best. I guess tomorrow I can actually see the game and I can see the Jet game. Otherwise, I never get to see the Raiders. Because they only have Sunday games, right? All Sunday games.
Yeah,
and
all Sundays.
The Jet game.
Yep, all Sundays.
Jet game. Yep. Is that in New York in November? It won't be too cold. But I think the season tickets are all they give. The season tickets get it. But it's okay. At least I have it on TV. While I was listening, I was going through the roster for USC, man. These kids.
Of course you were.
They're big. This guy's a freshman. He's from London, England, 6'8", 360. Bacone is his name. They got so many Polynesian Hawaiian guys. I love those names. The little tongue twisters. I want to see the young defensive linemen. I want to see the line come up big with sacks and run stops. I know Tonka was there last week. JJ, I saw him. I hope we see more of him, more the numbers. And the tailbacks come through, especially the three. Ashton Junta, you don't have to play him too much. The main guy is going to rest game 3 because I think 3 games should be just 1 game. I'm hearing all these injuries. It's already. I don't wish for injuries on anybody. You want to see the best. You want to see these guys, come through, especially when they're so just fresh out of college. And of course, Mendoza, let him start half the game because he's resting the following week. Let it all be for Aiden O'Donnell. And I can't wait for the season to start, but I hate to see someone end. Hate seeing someone end. But I'm retired, but still, I hate to see that in the summer. Q, I did most of the talking. Thanks for asking. Yeah, I did hear you said something about call Lou and do that. Sometimes if I call, I got to tell you something. This happened with a program director from another station. Mm-hmm. Have you had some of these guys on your station, guys? I've spoken to Doc Walker.
Yeah.
Kirk Morrison when he had a station with ESPN LA. And
in
also
LA,
this guy up. Yeah, he used to be on Saturdays. I used to catch him a few times. And also from your old station, 95.7. I know. I don't like him just because he didn't hire you. Oh, his name? Lincoln Kennedy. Got Lincoln.
No,
Lincoln Kennedy.
You're talking about. You're talking about.
The fanatic.
Yep.
I forgot the name.
Right.
It's so small. Well, he was telling me, you got to come with it. You got 30 seconds. Stay on topic. I'm not telling you don't know, right? That's why you guys are great. You mumble, you jumble, you mush mouth. That's my buddy there, Mr. Guitarist. Let him know that cover bands are a dime a dozen. It's the ones that have their own voice, write their own music. I don't know how Michael Jackson got hold of the Beatles' music, but that's a topic for another day.
It is. He
says to me, "You mumble jumble, stay on topic. We're screeners. We're not an answering machine. It's a right, a privilege, not a right." And I don't call too much. I really. I'm kidding. I'm overactive. I can't stand still, kind of. I might be reading, have the TV on. I don't stay still. Even when I'm in the gym and I let you go, I'm trying to pump these weights. I could be one of these girls. I could be everybody's father practically. I'm doing weights. I got my things in my ears. I want to hear sports. I don't want to hear music, especially if I don't know the music. If I don't know the artist, I don't want to hear it. Okay, that's how I am. I got the sports. I'm not. I don't. If I talk, I do less.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because I
know what you're saying.
I'd rather talk. It's my version of the barbershop, but I gotta make sure I'm there to earn my it's like $23 membership. I gotta earn my money.
There you go.
I know you. I know I didn't tell you screen what I was going to talk about, but he'll understand after this call. And you know what I'm saying? Jill, I love you.
I do.
Thanks for that. Enjoy your day off. I know you be work, but if you call at work, wish everybody can work like that and have your job. You're lucky. You're appreciative. We see it. Enjoy.
All right, will do, Money Man. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. It's good to hear from you, man. Good to hear you in a little bit, better mood as well. And like I said, man, you're family, brother, so we're here for you, and we do appreciate you. Keep on keeping on. My man said, I don't want to hear music. Listen, what you need to do, Money Man, this will be the advice I give you. When you go to the gym the next time and you're listening to something that you don't want to listen to, just put some Pac or some Big in. That's all. Just if you listen to some music, listen to some Pac or some Big and get a little edge to you. Get a little something in your neck, man. You go into that gym with a little something in your neck, man, you'll be a different man. I'm just telling you. That's how it goes down. So thanks for the call, man. Definitely appreciate you. It's always good to hear from you. We do want to continue to hear from you at 702-365-9200. We do have another giveaway. My man Connor has let me know that we have another giveaway, and that is Mutiny 2026. Speaking of going to see something, how about going to see this movie? A pair of tickets to see Mutiny starring Jason Statham. It's in theaters August 21st. Tickets are at the radio station. You want to go, I'm basically sending you in a date. Like, I'm giving you a free date night on me. See how high I am? That's how I roll. 702-365-9200. You want to go see this Jason Statham movie, Mutiny 2026? Let us know. 702-365-9200. Call number 9 is what we're looking for. And we've got to flush it, and we're going to flush it next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
It's time to flush it on Unnecessary Roughness. Brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing.
Got to give a big shout out to Moonlight Plumbing, who allows us to flush that performance. You can check them out, moonlightplumbing.vegas. You can give them a call at 702-355-3938. It is Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. And I love the fact that so many people understand the concept of this segment and flushing a performance. Like my guy Bill last night hit me up and did a screenshot of a baseball game and said, deserves a flush, LOL. Then got hit up on the text line earlier today when the show started, and I had talked about the E-Rob message about, I'm not into the, I'm into now, right? And never wasting any time and just being all about the present, because you don't want to lose that. And we drop that every day, the E-Rob drop, and he said, great point on the E-Rob message. We have to live every minute to the fullest because the next one isn't guaranteed. Also, can you flush the so-called performance from the Mariners getting demolished 22-0 and say this for so-called fans that work with me? LOL. Go Dodgers, go Raiders. That was from Grumpy Ass Mexican. Love it when folks hit me up. I know Sir Whiskey Reyes hit me up before and said, hey, you need to flush this, you need to flush that. And sometimes that's just how it be. So as you could tell, today's flushing of a performance comes from Major League Baseball in that game that, again, 22-0. The Brewers beat the Mariners. So, with that being said, I got some fun facts for you in this beatdown. Now, check this out. Again, the Brewers 22, Mariners nothing. I know it's almost football season. That looks like a football score. But check this out. The Brewers set a franchise record for the largest margin of victory and matched the club's mark for runs scored in a 22-0 rout over the Mariners at American Family Field, with 21 of those runs crossing the plate over Milwaukee's final 4 wild innings at bat for a victory that everyone's scrambling to check the record book. So, how about some of those records? Tied for the largest MLB win in the modern era. That's since 1900. Cleveland defeated the Yankees 22-0 in 2004, and the Pirates defeated the Cubs 22-0 in 1975. The Brewers also matched their franchise record 22 runs. 1992 versus the Blue Jays extend lead for the best record in Major League Baseball to 2.5 games. And the Mariners tied for the most runs allowed in franchise history, 2015 at the Red Sox. 4th time this month alone, they've allowed 10-plus run, only allowed 10-plus runs in 3 games through the end of July. But this is the best way to summarize this beatdown. Again, 22-0. And the funny thing about this is it was the Brewers that actually brought in a position player to pitch towards the end. Normally when you see a lopsided victory like this, the team that's getting whooped and waxed, you'll see them bring in that position player. The Brew Crew actually brought in a position player to pitch towards the end and still did not allow a run. But these couple minutes right here will actually summarize this beatdown perfectly. Check it out.
Rosarita's throw, and Bowers. Oh, the ball's out. Bowers doesn't recognize it. He gets to the plate. He's safe. Oh, my goodness. What a wild sequence. Fly ball, right center, deep. Robles on the run. He looks up. There she goes. Christian Yelich. Hamilton drives one right center. That's got some carry. It is gone. David Hamilton sends one out of here. There's a high drive. That one's not coming back. Bowers goes big fly. The Mariners TV. There's a shot picked at third by Wilson. And he starts he dropped it at first. Goodness. They get the out at second. Uh-oh. Is this number 1? Lara deep to left. And it is number 1 in the big leagues for Luis Lara. victory is 20-0. As Yelich flies out for the second out, and there is run. Number 20, but he threw it out. He threw it out. He did. He threw it into the bullpen. He thought it was the last out. Not a home run. No, it's an out. But then 2 bases from the field for both of the runners. I couldn't figure out where the ball was. And it's 22-0. Lara has a breaking ball. Take it to the bag. It's a shutout. Gary Sanchez to the finish line.
There it is right there. That was just a couple minutes. And trust and believe, there was a lot more where that, came from. But that is an absolute, just a beatdown that has to be flushed. And, of course, that flushing is brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing. I couldn't believe it. When I saw that come across the ticker last night as I'm on ESPN's game night, I'm thinking there's no way I'm reading that correctly. There's no way I'm seeing that the Brew Crew have just beat up on the Mariners 22-0. And doesn't that just kind of summarize the Mariners season? Remember how good they were last year? Remember how much fun the big dumper was last year? And it's like, man, the Mariners, they're some dominant team. Now, there ain't nobody in that even division that's got a winning record. I mean, that the American League's been a mess all season long, but, man, the Mariners have really fallen from grace. And my man, I mean, you want to talk about just trying to get up out of there and try to get to the crib, right? Trying to get the game over. My man catches the fly ball. There's only 2 outs, and he throws it into the stands. Throws it into the stands like, yeah, let me just get the hell up out of here, and then realizes how big a mistake he made. So that's just a way right there to summarize the whole night for the Mariners as they lose 22-0. Of course, that flushing of that performance is brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing. From sun up till moonlight, affordable, dependable plumbing, professional serving Las Vegas since 2016. They mean business. No problems too big or too small for Moonlight. Their services range from residential leaky faucet repair, water heater replacement, commercial plumbing system installs, full remodels. If you want to give them a call, you can at 702-355-3938. I always tell you moonlightplumbing.vegas. Moonlightplumbing.vegas is the easiest way to get them. They're small but mighty, veteran-owned and operated, and military and first responder discounts are available. Because of all things that can be flushed down the drain, just like that 22-0 beatdown, time and money should not be two of them. Moonlightplumbing.vegas. Again, moonlightplumbing.vegas.
Flush It is brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing. Affordable, dependable plumbing professionals serving Las Vegas since 2016. We mean business.
We definitely mean business around here. Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio 920. Let's go ahead and speak on some business and go out to the phone lines at 702-365-9200. Shout out to our guy, Raider Mike. Raider Mike, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, now you just put that in my head. A 22-0?
Yeah, buddy.
Have our A's ever been worked that hard? I don't think so.
Man, I'm trying to tell you.
What are you doing? And the big dumper, what happened to him?
Yeah, he ain't been dumping like he was last year.
Yeah, right. It's like, what happened in Seattle? Whatever, man. Hey,
yep.
Have you heard anything about what's going on with the Blazers owner that I don't know yet?
No, I know that. I believe so.
Do you know what will happen to Portland if that happens?
I do not. I just know that they're important. I know they're important to Portland.
There's nothing like them, man. I mean, I used to shoot pool with Rashid and Strickland and those guys. They were just us. They were our neighbors. They integrated with us. They talked with us. They hung out with us. So that will break my heart. If that happens, then I have all my teams in Vegas with the new NBA team. My A's are coming. My Raiders are coming. And my Knights are, I'll be, right. But still, that'll kill me, bro. That'll kill me. What was today's question? Like I said, I got off late again tonight. What's today's question?
Yeah, who and what do you want to see from this team tomorrow? What is it that you'll be looking for, and who is it that we'll be talking about coming up on Aloha Friday?
That offensive line. They got to hold up. If they can hold off those, like I said yesterday, that psychotic line. But they have it. I mean, all around defense of Houston is psychotic. Weather's fun there, huh, Q? What is it, 98?
Oh, yeah. I'm okay with it.
98?
I'm used to it.
Humidity?
I'm used to it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're a Texas boy. Oaktown going to Texas.
For a long time.
Took you a while to get used to that, Q.
Yeah.
Trust me on that, man. Houston's very uncomfortable. I've been there like 3 times, and it's just too much. Anyway, love the show, Q. That's all I got for you, man. Raiders, I'm out, bro. Peace.
There he goes. Raider Mike, thanks for the call. Appreciate you. And, yeah, I'll just let you know, I know 22-0 was bad when it comes to, what the Mariners did, the way that they got beat down by the Brew Crew. But the A's twice this year, once against the Rockies, they lost 23-9, and then against the Nationals 23-4. So not a complete shutout, but still, man, you give up 3 touchdowns in any given baseball game, man, you're down bad. You're down bad as far as I'm concerned, and you definitely need to get that performance flush. But thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. Big Dub Raider said, Meineke, I was comparing this year's Mariners to the 2017 Raiders. They had a great season last year, and this year was supposed to be the retool and go to the World Series. I was going to make a post last night about it, but you're flushing. It works. Go Raiders. That's Big Dub Raider. And I love how you kind of made that, tied that in together with the 2016 Raiders, because I remember when Jason Horowitz started as the voice of the Silver and Black, when I first met him and actually had a chance to chop it up with him and see him at person at the Raiders facility, he had asked me, it was going into the 2022 season, and remember the Raiders had just made the playoffs in 2021, and he said, when was the last time that this team had so much hype and juice around them, compared to what it's at right now? And I said exactly what you just said. It had to be the 2017 season. 2016, they were great, right? Derek Carr obviously breaks his ankle, and then 2017, we all think, oh, man, they're going to come back strong. DC is going to be healthy. They're going to bring in Marshawn Lynch. Oh, man, it's going to be an incredible team. And then week 3 in DC happened, and, well, they were never the same. But that's a great way to tie them together with the Mariners, because they did have a hell of a year last year, and all of a sudden it's womp, 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 a whole lot of nothing this year. And really disappointing for them, those Mariner fans. And just, again, man, as I said it, as a baseball fan that I am, and I know everyone's not a baseball fan, that's okay, the American League has been so suspect this year. The AL East they're solid, right? They've got 3 teams that have a winning record in the division, the Rays, the Yankees, and the Red Sox. And the Red Sox had to battle their way back. But, in the Central, it's only the White Sox have a winning record out of all the teams in the Central. And in the West, nobody has a winning record. Like, as of right now, nobody has a winning record. The Astros lead the division 63-63. Followed by the Rangers at 62-64, followed by those Mariners that we've been talking about, 59-67, the Angels at 50-76, and then here comes the Athletics that are pulling up the rear, 49-77. The funny thing about the looking at the standings, like I'm looking at the overall records on ESPN.com, and every team, Houston Astros, Texas Rangers, Seattle Mariners, Los Angeles Angels, Athletics. That's all it says. It doesn't have any city representation at all. Obviously, we know why, but I just think it's so funny when you look at the standings. You look at the American League and the National League, and the only team that does not have a city before their name would be the soon-to-be Las Vegas Athletics. So there you go. But appreciate the call. Appreciate the text, 702-365-9200. We'll come back. We'll close out the show. We'll hear from you. We'll do that next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
You're listening to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Brought to you by Meineke, doing car care right.
Remember, no show tomorrow for JT the Brick. No show tomorrow for me. What we'll be doing is obviously going into Raiders pregame show around 3 p.m. Pacific time, and then passing the sticks on at 5 o'clock for Kirk Morrison and Jason Horowitz to be on the call. It's also an ESPN televised game as well. So, a lot of moving parts coming up on tomorrow. We have an Aviators game early, so that's why JT's show won't be heard. So just remember that, but we will be back here on this fine show in this fine spot coming up on Friday. But we do want to hear from you as we close out the show at 702-365-9200. Let's go out to Carolina and talk to our guy, Pete. Pete, welcome to Unnecessary Roughness. What you got for us?
Q, I'm so glad you're doing well, and the season's upon us, and I so look forward to it. And in answer to your question about tomorrow's game, I'll start with the D-backs, and the only one-word response I have for everybody is tranquilo. I think,
nice.
Everybody's got to wait a minute. He threw them into the water, and this is a talented group of young players, and it's going to take a while for it to all mesh. And I really feel the same thing with the offensive line. JPJ being hurt, it's unfortunate. We know his history, which we really feel bad about that. But it's really nice to know you got Caleb sitting behind him, who's actually sharing the 1 reps with him. So you don't feel like there's a major loss there. You have a kid like Trey Zune who looks like he can fill in anywhere, not to mention Charles Grant. So I feel like we're developing depth. Look, we're building a team, right? They're building a team. And granted, everybody says maybe 6, 7, 8 wins tops, something like that. Whatever the case may be, one of my benchmarks is I'd like to see a season go through where we don't get blown out in a game, in a game. The other thing is, another thing I'll say tranquilo on, that's Rob Leonard. I mean, I listened to some of the stuff that was online. It was like, wait a minute, this guy's been around the game. This guy's been a coach. He's been very successful bringing players along and so forth. And that bothered me when I saw that. But then I said, don't get stuck with the banana in the tailpipe. Don't bite into it. And you've got to give this some time, The other thing I'll say is last year's coaching for the younger players, I don't think there was a whole lot of it. I think we've talked about it ad nauseum, but I don't think it was a very refined situation amongst the coaches. Not that individually they're all talented men, but I think there was no meshing or come together the way we feel the come together is today. The other thing I wanted to mention regarding the quarterback situation is we have our quarterback of the future is here. And whether it's halfway in the season, maybe after the trade deadline in November, or whenever it may be, whenever that time is, we have enough faith and trust in our head coach and the personnel or the coaching staff that we have that he will get in those games when the opportunity presents itself. And we have a quarterback of our future, which we're going to ride on. The last thing I want to say to you is I'll finish with baseball because you brought that whole baseball piece in. Have you seen the Matt Barnes podcast with Nick Swisher? They interview Harold Reynolds. If you haven't checked it out, they a great Ricky Henderson story that you will die laughing from. It is awesome. Check it out.
I will. I'll do that. Hey, thanks for the call, Pete. Great stuff. Pete from Carolina right there. Really good stuff. And, hey, you got me at Ricky Henderson. You know that. I'm always down for that. Really good to call. Appreciate it. Got a text from Raider Donut from Fresno. I'd like to see less mental mistake, a.k.a. penalties. I want to hear on Aloha Friday that the interior lineman made an eye-open difference from joint team practice to game day. Thanks for your time. Go Raiders. Mark in Jersey, I want to see the defense get out the field before the fourth quarter. And Mark in proper Texas, Q, love your show. We have your back, money bitch. When I need a pick up on leg day, I roll out Tupac, Ambitions as a Rider. We'll be back on Friday here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Have a great one.